This is Kang Haji. Ever since she was little, her parents taught her to be kind to others, to be bright and positive, and stay innocent in the face of the world's evils. Basically, to act exactly like a puppy. Which is kind of ironic since her name sounds exactly like the Korean word for puppy. I'm sure anyone would be mad with parents who name them to be like a dog, so you can't blame Haji for feeling the same. Since she's so meek and mild, people think she's a pushover. She doesn't have a lot of friends and often gets bullied at school. She grew up in an orphanage and her adoptive parents used to foster abandoned dogs, so she kind of learned to act like them as she grew up. When she got in trouble, she would roll over and show her belly just like a pup, and has a crazy sense of smell. It even got her on the news, which probably didn't help with the whole bullying situation. I mean, seriously, would you want to go on TV to be compared with a dog? Probably not, right? The worst trait Haji inherited from her puppy siblings was her gullibility. The problem is, she's not naturally suspicious, so she hasn't been able to figure out who's been bullying her for the last year. But even with all her misfortunes, Haji tries to keep a positive attitude, true to her canine nature. That's not to say it isn't hard. In art class, the teacher announces a group project. No one wants her in their group, but instead of assigning Haji to work with her classmates, she shoves her next to this boy who completely blanks her. How rude! Why is everyone in this school so mean? First they're throwing sliders at her, and now even the loner kids ignore her? Poor Haji. Their project is to decorate a plaster head, using any materials they like. Some of the girls in her class decide to put makeup on theirs, trying to imitate a puppy-like look. Obviously, someone mentions Kang Haji, because that's literally her brand. But the girls don't take well to the loner getting all the attention. While Haji is working dutifully on her bust, she gets distracted thinking of her dog Happy and drops a paintbrush. When she and her partner lean down to get it, they bump heads. But at least he bothered to help her out, I guess. Unfortunately, the popular girls catch the interaction and immediately accuse them of dating. They start teasing Haji and tell her partner to put on her makeup as a little boyfriend-girlfriend activity. Haji is literally begging this kid to refuse. But then the ringleader slams her hand on the desk and calls him some very rude names, which we can't repeat on this channel. Now that everyone in the class is staring at them, the boy has no choice but to take the makeup while the other girls pin her down. But just as he starts to draw, she yells at them to stop. Finally, Haji has reached her breaking point and decides to be a pushover no longer. So she does what dogs do best. She bites back. No, literally. Haji grabs a nice big chunk out of one of the bully's arms and wriggles free. That's it, girl. You do whatever you have to. That'll teach them not to mess with puppies. The funny thing is, after they basically bullied that guy into putting makeup on her face, Haji actually looks kind of gorgeous. All the boys in class are suddenly talking about how cute she is, which only makes the girls even angrier. They snatch back the kit and are just about to give her a nasty makeover when a pretty girl in the corner of the room pipes up, warning them the teacher is coming back. Now, I don't actually know if she was or wasn't returning, but either way, that girl saved Haji's hide. As it turns out, her name is Hong Minju, and she and Haji used to be friends. Until about a year ago, when Haji deliberately put some distance between them when she started getting bullied, not wanting her friend to catch the same reputation. During PE class, Haji tracks her down by scent to thank Minju for stepping in. Her friend apologizes that she couldn't do more and cheers her up, reminding her there's at least one person who's still on her side. However, that brief shining moment of hope is soon dashed when Haji returns to the class and is pretty much assaulted by flying balls. And no, that's not a euphemism. She gets struck in the face and ends up around the nurse's office with a bloody nose and a bruised elbow. While she's licking her wounds, Haji reminisces on the old days when Minju and her spent all their time together, and her crush, Hyunjun, would come over and tell her how cute she looked. It seemed like she had it all made out. What could have possibly gone so wrong to land her in this situation? Angry at her life, Haji suddenly yells out her frustration, startling a cat that was walking nearby. It's a cute little kitty, so she invites it to come sit in her lap. But apparently, she gives off far too much canine energy to befriend a cat, so it hisses at her and stalks away, perching by the school gates. Returning to class, Haji discovers a big crowd of girls swarming none other than her old crush, Hyunjun. These days, he's the talk of the town and is participating in a national track and field competition on TV soon. He also happens to be the president of the school council. I mean, could this kid be any more perfect? At the council meeting that day, he asks her to take on the admin for a big proposal, since he's too busy with the upcoming competition. Even though she's vice president and that's pretty much her job, the others call her a pushover and accuse her of deliberately playing nice to get his attention. Someone give this poor girl a break! After staying late to clear up from their meeting, Haji finally gets to head home, but just as she's leaving, a mysterious figure pushes her down the stairs. Okay, now this has gone too far. Let me in the comic. I'll sort those bullies out. Fortunately, Hyungjun is there to break her fall. Unfortunately, the force of the fall pushes him to the ground, hurting his ankle. Of course, the entire school appears at just the perfect moment to point fingers at Haji, as if she didn't have enough on her plate already. The next day, the popular girls take it upon themselves to punish her, cornering Haji by the lockers. They are convinced she pushed Hyunjun on purpose, so they slap her and stuff a dirty rag in her mouth. They tell her the school star athlete had to be hospitalized and missed out on his chance to be on TV, all because of her. Which is obviously not true, but now everyone believes it, including her. Haji no longer feels safe while walking the halls, knowing that every whisper is about her. Trying to recall the hand that pushed her, she suddenly remembers scenting Minju's perfume. She asks her about it, but doesn't suspect her friend at all. She only wants to know if she saw anything, since she must have been nearby. Oh, Haji, there goes those canine senses, failing you once again. I don't trust that Minju as far as I could throw her. She gets even more suspicious when the nasty popular girls catch them talking in the toilets. Minju tells them Haji thought she pushed her down the stairs, which is so insane. I mean, seriously? Is this girl deaf? Did you not hear her say literally the exact opposite? The bullies seem shocked to find out that she was actually pushed. Only they don't actually care about the danger she was in. They tell Haji she should have just rolled down the stairs and bled out, rather than hurt Hyunjin too. Damn, now that's truly evil. Minju manages to shepherd them to the cafeteria, so Haji gets to eat in peace. Well, as much peace as you can get when you're being lethally bullied and the whole school can't stop talking about you. But being alone gives her the chance to think back on something the girls said while they were beating her up by the lockers. They mentioned that there was some kind of incident, and that's why she was being bullied. Poor Haji is desperately racking her brain, trying to think of what she could have possibly done to warrant people basically assaulting her. But her thoughts are interrupted when one of those mean girls starts a rumor that her parents capture and abuse stray dogs before selling them on. Apparently, being beaten and abused and nearly killed, this girl can take, but slandering her parents and puppies is just one step too far. Haji demands the girl apologize for what she said. I'm not exactly sure how she was expecting that to go. What, was she gonna suddenly turn around and say, "You're right, that was out of line"? Well, anyway, the girl responds exactly how you'd expect, by kicking her to the ground and dumping their lunch all over her. Totally humiliated, Haji sprints out of the cafeteria and into the rain. She doesn't know what to do or where to go. She's kind of starting to spiral when she bumps into that odd-eyed cat from PE class, just sitting in the middle of the road. Suddenly, a truck comes screeching toward it, so Haji does the only thing she can think of and dives in front of it. Oh my god, is this finally it? Is this how her story ends after everything? Turns out, no. The moment our heroine touches the cat, she is transported to a very strange place where the floors are gleaming and old-fashioned maids bow to her. Okay, maybe she did die after all. I mean, doesn't that sound a lot like heaven? Haji is probably thinking the same, but then she notices the tall, dark-haired man staring at her with a familiar set of mismatched eyes. She must have been holding on to him pretty tight, because the mysterious stranger suddenly lashes out and scratches her hand. Then he calls her a dirty mongrel, asking how she dares touch him. Is that how he's going to treat the girl who saved his life? What a jerk. Haji is still trying to figure out how she got from the side of the road to a palace, especially since it's surrounded by lakes and mountains and flowers. While she's taking it all in, her horrible host says she smells disgusting, like a dirty rat. Overhearing the butlers talking, Haji learns that her host's name is Master Ko Kyulhan. Though that's about all she's going to be learning, since he tells her to get out of his sight the next second. Kind of unreasonable given he's the one who brought her here. Haji asks what made him so angry, and Kyulhan explodes, yelling that he lost track of a major criminal all because of her. Then some guards show up out of nowhere and he orders them to execute her in place of the criminal. What? This guy is absolutely insane. She's taken to a cell and locked up with no food, water, or cell phone to call for help. Although she's escaped from the bullies at school, it seems she's landed somewhere far more dangerous and hostile. She needs to think of an escape plan, and fast. Searching the cell, Haji discovers a huge and very suspicious-looking box. Inside, she finds it full of sand and starts running her hands through it. Oh girl, no. I have a feeling I know what that's for. The door opens and in walks an unfamiliar boy with pink hair dressed in a maid outfit. He hands Haji a disguise, promising to help her escape so long as she keeps quiet and acts fast. And what do you know? The disguise is, of course, another maid outfit. The pink-haired boy adds a bow on top and drags her through the halls until they come to a final corner. All Haji has to do is get to the end of that hallway and sneak out to a pathway in the garden. The boy sends Haji on ahead, promising to distract the guards and meet up with her once the coast is clear. While wandering toward their meeting point, Haji stumbles upon someone laying in the grass. Her first thought is that they must have passed out, but honestly, there's a lot of other reasons a person could be lying down in the shade. She wasn't kidding when she said she was gullible. Haji wakes them up to ask if they're all right. The stranger only opens one eye and pulls her down, using her as his personal teddy bear. Gosh, what is with the people in this place? Does no one have any manners? While she's being snuggled like an overgrown puppy, the guards are getting closer. Haji tries to sneak away, but her cuddle partner tells her it's safe out here. But something tells me the reason the guards won't come is because they don't want to deal with this guy. My damsel in distress sense is really tingling, guys. Haji must be thinking the same because she abruptly gets to her feet, thanking the strange boy for hiding her and running to the meeting point. The pink-haired maid is already waiting for her. Turns out he wants them to escape through a hole in the tree, but it's too small to fit through, so he casually starts digging out the earth with his bare hands. Right, because that's a totally normal thing that people in this world can just do, I guess. Once they can fit through, the boy helps her down, and they're on their way out. Finally, something is going right for Haji, at least for now. After crawling through the long, dark tunnel, Haji and her accomplice emerge at the other end in a beautiful meadow full of flowers. True to her nature, she's immediately delighted and goes running around like a puppy, curious of every little fly and rock. She's still far too innocent for her own good. She seems to think that the castle was some kind of movie set, and this field is a botanical garden. The pink-haired boy has to set her straight, and reveals that they're no longer in the human world. Even worse, she probably won't be able to go back for some time. Though he promises to do everything he can to help her get there. And even though they're complete strangers, I can relate. I mean, look at those puppy dog eyes. Who could help but fall for her? The boy finally introduces herself as Jimin, which, if you know, you know, and changes out of his maid uniform. He reappears in a loose shirt, admitting that the maid outfit was just a disguise so he could get into the castle. It's all very suspicious, especially since the village Jimin has brought her to is literally called Rat Village. Apparently, it's for both rats and mice, while the castle was part of the Cat Kingdom. With me so far? Don't worry. Haji doesn't have a clue what's going on either. Jimin promises to explain more about the animal world in depth, but first, they need food. They arrive in Jimin's family home, where his mother is laying on the bed, clearly pretty sick. They have a simple dinner of sandwiches and cheese. True to the mousy brand, I guess. Jimin lost his father when he was young, and his mother fell ill soon after. She's been fighting for a while, but it seems like she hasn't got long left. But that doesn't mean he's given up. Jimin has been searching for medicine from the human world, hoping it could cure his mother. Wait, is that what Ko Kulhan was after? Is it possible that Jimin could be the criminal he's been looking for? Oh, we're getting into the good stuff now. Jimin wants to retrieve the medicine that Kulhan took, but getting back into the castle will be practically impossible. Traveling between worlds is strictly forbidden. Anyone who does it is immediately a first-class criminal. As the third highest rank in the Cat Kingdom, Prince Kulhan has made it his mission to track him down, no matter the cost. Which means Jimin is one of the most wanted people in the kingdom. Oh, I just got it! It's a cat and mouse chase! Kulhan is Tom and Jimin is Jerry. Did anyone else catch that? No? Well, anyway, because she's too naive for her own good, Haji offers to go back to the Cat Palace to retrieve the medicine for him. Jimin immediately refuses. After all, this isn't her world. But as we've seen, there's not much waiting for Haji on the other side except bullies and misery. Of course, she misses her parents, but she seems far more invested in helping out her new friend. Okay, I'm not saying the bullies were right, but geez, girl, you trust way too easily. Truly, like a dog, Haji is optimistic about their chances, so the puppy and the mouse team up. But once she's alone in bed, the reality of the situation finally crashes in. So many crazy things have happened in the last 24 hours, and she doesn't know how to take it all in. That night, she falls into a nightmare about the girls waiting for her back at school. And after that, she has another one about the cat prince. When will this puppy ever know peace? By the morning, she's pretty groggy, so Jimin fetches her a giant sunflower to make her feel better. I get the sense this kid has already kind of fallen for her, and Haji is pretty flustered. I mean, a cute boy bringing her flowers? I'd be swooning already. Jimin asks how she's handling everything, and Haji admits that she is struggling to keep up. And you can't exactly blame her. There are cats and mice and kingdoms, but none of them look any different from humans. Although that nasty Kyulhan certainly doesn't act like a human. He practically hissed at her earlier. Jimin heads back inside to look after his mother, kind of just abandoning Haji to her reconnaissance mission. He gives her a map and a list of tips for things to avoid. Literally, the first thing that is on the list is guys with stripes on their faces. So, guess who she bumps into literally seconds after leaving the house? Guys with stripes on their faces. Obviously. They immediately take a liking to her. Since she kind of looks unusual, they want to sell her to some nobles. Great, so they have slavery here too. This world sucks. One of them tries to inspect the merchandise, so Haji kicks them right in the balls. Yes, this is the best thing that's happened so far. I am so ready for Haji's heroine arc. One of the rats is about to strike Haji when she suddenly screams out Prince Kyulhan's name in an act of desperation. And apparently, that works. The people of the rat village must be so terrified of the third kitty in command that even the sound of his name makes them freeze. For once, Haji manages to lie, spinning a story about the prince being obsessed with her. Which is technically true, though he's more obsessed in the lock you up in a cell way and not the shower you with love kind of way. But they don't have to know that. Literally, the entire village falls silent, people scurrying back inside until she's the only one in town. Haji is surprised that just a name can be so powerful. That is, until she turns around and finds a real-life bear looming behind her. Look, I know we had rats and cats, but I don't think the next logical step is just to have a bear walking through town. Haji starts sprinting for her life, like anyone would if there was a grizzly on your tail. She's about to leap over the cliff when the bear reaches out with a very human hand, warning her to watch out. Stumbling on the edge of the precipice, Haji is inches from a very gruesome death. Now might be the perfect time for a very handsome human bear to rescue her from peril. Leaving us on that very literal cliffhanger, the story switches to Kyulhan, who has arrived in the rat village on his hunt for the criminal, aka Jimin. He hears the gossip of the girl who used his name to protect herself against gang members, though the rumors seem to have spiraled out of control. People now think Kyulhan and Haji are engaged and are in an uproar that the younger of the princes is getting married before Kwihan, the white-haired leader of their kingdom. Kyulhan is understandably shocked and forces the full story out of one of the villagers. Meanwhile, my wish has come true. Haji has been rescued from her near-death experience by a gorgeous blue-eyed boy in a cape. Although, now they're both stuck at the bottom of a rocky chasm. Haji, of course, hasn't made the link between the bear and the boy, and thinks he just appeared out of nowhere. Luckily, the bear kid managed to call to a friend before they fell, so help is on the way. Is it gonna be another hot bear boy? No offense, but if I were Haji, I wouldn't be wasting my time with rats and cats. Bears are where it's at, baby! The boy got injured in their fall, and it looks pretty serious. Haji tries to rip off some fabric for a tourniquet, but he pulls her close and stops her, promising it will take more than a scratch to kill someone like him. Whew! Does anyone else have butterflies? Haji doesn't quite believe him, so when she hears footsteps nearby, she calls out for help. And lo and behold, Prince Kyulhan appears, smiling down at his prey from up above. Oh boy, here we go again. Haji's first thought is to jump into the ravine, which I can't blame her. I wouldn't want to deal with that snobby cat anyway. And actually, cats have always hated her, even back in her childhood in the human world. They always used to hiss and scratch at her, even unprovoked. But like a silly pup, she never stopped trying to befriend them because, well, cats are just that cute. At least they are in the real world. Kyulhan is neither cute nor a harmless kitty, and now that he's got her trapped once again, Haji is reminded of the danger she's in. Her new friend is also pretty unhappy to see him and tries to hide while the prince jumps down into the chasm. Haji tells him right away that the other boy has no relation to her and needs medical attention right away. Of course, because he's a major douchebag, Kyulhan completely ignores the guy literally bleeding out behind her and starts interrogating her about the criminal instead. She plays hardball, but then his attention strays to the boy behind her, who he seems to recognize. The bear guy takes a half second to ask if she can swim before grabbing Haji and jumping down the chasm. Well, at least he asked first. So far, he's more considerate than any of the other boys we've met. Somehow, they swim to safety and even get to a safe house where the bear boy makes her some tea. I'm telling you, this guy is perfect boyfriend material. Oh, and he's dressed her up in another pretty maid costume. Back at the palace, the rumors have already spread to Ko Kwihan, Kyulhan's older brother and the ruler of the Cat Kingdom. He heard about Haji pretending to be his fiancé and seems very amused by the whole affair. The prince, however, is not, and now has a major grudge to settle with Haji. Meanwhile, she's blissfully unaware, and she has been telling her life story to her bear boyfriend over a cup of hot tea. Like any reasonable person, he seems concerned that she's decided to side with Jimin, the first-class criminal, especially since that puts her right in Prince Kyulhan's firing line. Upon learning her name, the boy says it suits her well. Haji assumes he means because she's like a puppy, but he actually thinks it reflects her determination. You see, Kang Haji also sounds like the Korean word for strong. That's probably the first time our sweet girl has had someone recognize her strength. Is it just me, or is it really nice to see people acknowledging her? It certainly makes for a nice change from all the times she's been beaten up and shoved. While the bear guy is taking away their cups, he drops one and suddenly starts trembling. It seems he gets troubled by random pains from time to time, so the two of them go out picking these glowing herbs by the light of the moon. Does that count as a date? 'Cause this whole vibe is romantic as heck. When they wander back to the house, the boy explains that it's a place that produces medicine. He's working there as an apothecary under a mentor who is mysteriously absent at the moment. Though I'm sure he won't be for long. Apparently, both student and mentor used to work at the royal palace, which would explain why Kyulhan recognized him earlier. He warns her that it will be very difficult to sneak into the palace, let alone steal something from the prince. In fact, it's more like impossible, and he advises her to give it up, especially since she's doing this all for a stranger. But Haji isn't the type to think twice about that sort of thing. She just likes helping people and never thinks too deeply about things. Really, truly like a dog to her very core. Enamored with her kind heart, Haji's companion decides to help her. Once they've collected enough of the glowing herb, they head back to the apothecary, where he offers her a room for the night. Because she's so pure-hearted, Haji does have some hang-ups about staying in the same house as him, but come on, get a grip, girl! It's not every day you come across a gorgeous man who wants to take care of you. If it were me, I'd jump straight on that invitation. And thankfully, she does. Haji feels responsible for his injury, so she promises to help him with his work while he recovers. But as soon as they return, she starts to second-guess her offer. A huge explosion sounds from above, followed by smoke and a burning smell. The boy reassures her that it's just his mentor in the lab, and even pats her head to comfort her. Okay, I know her brand is being a puppy, but I don't think you need to go that far. Back at the palace, Prince Kyulhan has received a letter stating the whereabouts of Kang Haji. He demands a map and immediately pinpoints her location, though he's very confused as to what she's doing in the Rat Village forest. I don't know if it's luck on her part or a clever choice from the bear boy, but cats avoid that forest like the plague. They just feel really unpleasant when they get near it, though no one knows why. As a result, the cats know very little about the area, which makes it a perfect place to hide from them. Clearly, the cogs are turning in the older prince's head. He suggests that Kyulhan forget the whole fiancé incident and just leave her alone. After all, she did save his life in the human world. Kyulhan doesn't take that well at all, which makes me hate him even more. He denies that he needed saving, but we all saw what happened. He was about to be squished by a 20-ton truck. How arrogant do you have to be to ignore that? While he's ranting about how he doesn't owe Haji anything, Kyulhan suddenly remembers why he recognized the boy in the chasm. His name is Kang Hee-woong, and now that he remembers him, he seems even more determined to combat his instincts and head into the forest to corner them. Back at the apothecary, Haji has been helping out for a few months. Damn! I guess she's just completely forgotten about Jimin's dying mom? Maybe dogs have bad memories, cause I'm not sure how something that urgent could just slip your mind. Even though she doesn't have much of a reason to hang around, who could say no to living with a super strong bear boy in the middle of the woods? It's literally the plot of a rom-com. If you forget about the murderous cat on their tail. the while, they've been putting up with the mad scientist responsible for pretty frequent explosions. She's another apprentice to the guy who used to work in the palace, a hybrid bunny girl who barely reaches their hips. Though she looks a little creepy, she's mostly harmless. Other than occasionally slipping their mentor's potions into Haji's bathwater just to see what they do. Actually, the potion only made her hair grow super long, and who could complain about that? Apparently, Haji could. She wants to find the antidote as soon as possible, even if that means going out and preparing all the ingredients herself. In the middle of their preparations, they're interrupted by a knock on the door, announcing an unexpected visitor. I wonder who that could be. If you're thinking it's Kyulhan, you're wrong, thankfully. It's Jimin. Poor kid probably came to check she was still alive after she took on the quest to save his mother and then just disappeared for months. Seriously, how is everyone so chill about that? By some small miracle, his mother has been feeling better, no thanks to Haji. They go for a little walk together, ignoring the danger that being outside the forest places her in, because, say it with me, she's too naive for her own good. Despite the danger, Haji enjoys being out of the forest for a little while. She starts rambling about how much happier she is in this world than her home, and how she's been studying about the Cat Kingdom. She even says she's still determined to steal the medicine from Kyulhan, at which point, Jimin looks incredibly guilty. Oh no, what has he done? Jimin suddenly starts to apologize, which is always a red flag. Run, Haji, run! Before she can take so much as a step, the prince has arrived. Clearly, Jimin lured her to be captured, maybe in exchange for the medicine? Is it bad that I don't blame him? She's literally been off in the forest playing with herbs and potions while his mom was dying. Poor kid probably didn't have a choice. Haji also tells him not to worry, knowing he must have had his reasons. It really takes a special kind of person to look your traitor in the eye and still smile like that. Kyulhan also seems surprised at her response. She's clearly changed since they last met and is more confident in front of him, even though he might drag her away to a prison cell for the rest of her life. Honestly, I don't know how she stays so calm. If it were me, I'd definitely have swung a punch and made her run for it by now. Despite her bravado, Kyulhan warns her that she'll never be able to return to the human world. He's on a mission to eradicate everyone who knows about the other world because, apparently, that's just the law. Sounds messed up to me. Before he can bring her in, however, Kyulhan suddenly changes. He steps closer to her, leaning down as he whispers her name. For a moment, it seems like they're going to kiss. But then he starts to shake. She seems to be having some kind of effect on him, and I think he kind of likes it. Jimin sprints back to the apothecary to fetch the others, asking for their help. Only the artists know what happened then, but the next thing we see is Kyulhan and Haji arriving at the palace together on horseback. The guards are shocked to see him sharing a saddle, since he's not exactly the type to get close with a girl, especially not one he called a mongrel only a few months ago. They also notice that he looks really pale, but he just barges past them to the gate, leaving Haji on the horse like a spare part. What on earth did she do to end up back here with him? I am so confused. But whatever happened, Haji still won't go easy. He can't just execute her without no reason. The guards, however, don't seem to care for human rights or know anything about the law, so maybe that's not the best approach. In the end, the guards can't handle the responsibility of looking after her. Somehow, it goes all the way up the chain to Kyulhan, who decides to take matters into his own hands. Do we trust this guy? I don't know if anyone related to Kyulhan can really be a good person. Anyway, Kyulhan reveals that his brother has been in pretty poor health. He's not eating, and the doctors haven't been allowed to examine him because he's just that stubborn. Kyulhan suspects he's not ill, but probably just hiding out while he gets his head straight. He and his assistant are taking a walk around the palace when Haji bumps into them. She was hanging around the guards trying to eavesdrop. They only noticed her because they picked up on the strange scent she's been carrying ever since the forest, when she took that hair-enhancing potion. Haji can only smell something weird, but the guards literally start salivating. Ew! The smell makes them all giggly and happy, so instead of waiting for them to start licking her or something, she ran away and ended up bumping into the eldest prince. Unlike his assistant and just about everyone in his kingdom, Kyulhan is very polite. He sends his assistant off to deliver a message to his brother and the guards, announcing that Haji will be isolated from the rest of the palace. Wait, is he just going to put her straight back in the dungeon? It gets even creepier when Kyulhan grabs her hair and takes a big old sniff. He seems to have a theory about the smell that's driving everyone crazy. Everyone except him, it seems. After acting like a total weirdo, he announces that they'll be going to visit her place of isolation, which sounds absolutely terrifying. Everyone is being very secretive about what this place actually is. Even Kyulhan has some reservations about keeping her there. His brother asks if he disapproves of the decision, but it seems a little more complex than that. In fact, the evil prince's heart seems to have warmed to their resident puppy. Kwihan goes so far as to suggest he fell for her at first sight. Now, I don't know about that. Remember that on their actual first sight he called her a filthy mongrel and locked her in a cell? If that's love, then he's even more twisted than I thought. Kyulhan denies it too, but something has definitely shifted between them. He admits that it's something to do with her scent. He can't get it out of his head. It's driving him crazy. He seems to think it's some kind of illness, but Kwihan just calls him a pervert. Which, I mean, is he wrong? There's something sick and twisted in that head of his. After their little chat, Kwihan is caught in the hallway by a messenger, a student of the royal apothecary. It seems like he's been up to something fishy. He's been inquiring about brewing some kind of potion with ingredients so rare it's almost impossible to make. And it's forbidden. There's some effect on cats that has made it outlawed in the kingdom. Whatever he's been up to, it sounds mysterious. Meanwhile, Haji has been living it up in isolation. Kwihan landed her in a pretty cushy room, provided her with clothes, and even sent his assistant to check up on her. The only hitch is that she really is isolated. She can't leave in case she runs into Kyulhan and he goes mad with a desire or something. I don't really know what that evil boy would do. Either way, they can't keep her locked up forever. Being alone for so long has made Haji uneasy. She starts thinking about poor Jimin and how he's faring without her. Screw Jimin! I want to know about Kang Hee-woong. I say bring the bear back. While she's looking out the window, Haji spies a lady with red hair running through the gardens. Even from behind, it reminds her of Minju. But how the heck could she have ended up in this world? Haji sprints to the door only to find it locked, but she's determined to go out and confirm her suspicions. So determined that she would even jump out a second-story window. Predictably, she hits a branch on her way down and falls rather ungracefully to the ground. She gets right back to her mission, exploring the grounds of this estate she's been locked in, right next to the main palace grounds. Using the familiar scent, she turns a corner to find none other than Minju, dressed like one of the Cat Kingdom members and talking to none other than Prince Kyulhan. He catches a glance of her, so she sprints away before she can hear what they were talking about. What she did pick up on is that the two of them seem to be on good terms. I find that heavily suspicious, but as usual, Haji just assumes the best and guesses that Minju fell into this world by accident, just like her. Oh, sweet Haji. I really thought we got past this. As she's walking back to the estate, she stumbles upon Jimin, being picked on by two of the guards. Without even thinking, Haji slams into one of them with her back, which is maybe the most awkward way I've ever seen a guard be taken out. But what is Jimin doing in the palace? And more importantly, how do Kyulhan and Minju know each other? As usual, Haji is her bubbly self, completely ignoring the fact that she just spine-tackled a guard into the ground. While he's groaning in pain, the other guard scolds him for being beaten so easily. He clearly has no idea who Haji is or how she even got there. She's just introducing herself when she turns to find Prince Kyulhan, just short of standing there watching her. He really can't stay away, can he? As it happens, he and Minju carried on their conversation by the pavilion, where she implored him to set an official date for their engagement. What? How come they're engaged? If I wasn't suspicious of her character before, I sure am now. But Kyulhan didn't seem particularly keen to speed up whatever agreement they had between them. He just acted his usual rude self and walked off, leaving Minju calling after him desperately. Somewhere between then and now, he stumbled into Haji. Although, if you ask me, it's more likely he caught her scent and came running. This guy is literally obsessed with her. The guards and Jimin are terrified the moment Kyulhan steps onto the scene. But Haji is different. Like a true girl boss, she walks right up to him and points a finger at the guard, asking him to punish them for hurting Jimin. The guards are already laughing because the old Kyulhan wouldn't care one bit what a little puppy girl asked of him. But the new Kyulhan is ruthless and immediately scolds them for touching something that belongs to the royal family. By the way, he's talking about Jimin. He literally just called Jimin an object, one of his possessions. So even if he's got nicer, he's still a first-rate douche. Haji notices the difference too, though she doesn't have much time to appreciate it before he is back to calling her an ungrateful pest. Suddenly, remembering Minju, she cuts off his dull speech about gratitude and punishment to ask about her friend. Kyulhan doesn't recognize that name, but she's desperate. She grabs him, so focused on demanding an answer that she accidentally pushes them both into the fountain. If it were me, I'd be majorly embarrassed, especially with their little audience watching. But Haji doesn't know the meaning of the word shame. Actually, she's shamelessly staring into his eyes, trying to figure out where she's seen them before. Wait, does she not realize he's the cat? Are you serious? Haji, babe, I don't know if I can keep defending you. It has literally taken her all this time to realize that Kyulhan is the cat she saved, as if the eyes weren't a dead giveaway. Kyulhan is already preparing to brush her off and tell her he didn't need help, but true to her nature, Haji is just glad to see that he ended up all right. I guess since she woke up in this world, she never knew whether the cat was actually safe or not. But the prince isn't feeling quite as sentimental. He scolds her, saying that if he hadn't teleported them out of the road, Haji would have died. He's holding her by her shoulders, and while everyone else is gearing up for him to throw her like a rocket, sweet, innocent Haji is just enjoying the view. Though she's not the only one. Unbeknownst to the others, Minju is watching from the sidelines. I bet she's already coming up with a plan to get Haji out of the picture so that she can have the prince all to herself. When she's back at the estate, Kwi-han's assistant attempts to explain the mess of a legal system they have in the Cat Kingdom and why Haji is in so much trouble. Going over to the human world is considered a first-class crime because it threatens the existence of the kingdom. At the moment, the only people who know the whole situation and Haji's involvement with Jimin are the two princes. Kwi-han's assistant seems to believe her master will keep his brother in check. Everyone can tell she's a good person at heart, so Kwi-han won't let her be punished too severely. But she did still commit a crime, so the assistant asks her to be patient and bear with her isolation a little longer. After all, shoving her number one enemy in a fountain is really not the way to get her sentence lifted. At least, that's what the assistant thinks. If it were up to me, I'd tell her to keep pushing, girl. The prince seems to like it. That night, Haji is lying awake when she hears footsteps outside her bedroom. She takes a peep through her door to find Kwi-han standing in the corridor like an NPC. Apparently, he came to visit, but didn't realize how late it was and assumed she was asleep. Haji thinks he came to tell her off, so she apologizes for pushing his brother into the fountain. Kwi-han hadn't heard yet, but he laughs his butt off when she admits what happened. He makes a comment about how the effects of the potion haven't worn off yet, pointing to her hair. He figured out the truth because he knew the man who made the potion, presumably Hee-woong's mentor, the old apothecary master. He reveals that an ingredient in that potion seduces people. That's why he's had Haji locked up in the estate and tried to keep her away from his brother. But if it's so seductive, how come Kwi-han isn't drooling all over her like the others? As it turns out, the potion affects some people more than others. Kyulhan is especially prone, while his elder brother has a tolerance for it. While they're talking, Kwi-han spots a sudden flash from outside the window. He reacts with lightning-fast instincts, covering Haji as something flies through the window, just scraping his arm. Haji turns to see an arrow lodged in the wall. Someone tried to kill her. Actually, Haji seems to think it was aimed at Kwi-han, but I'd bet my life that arrow had something to do with Minju. She's so sneaky. I wouldn't be surprised if she was from the Fox Kingdom. Though the arrow only left a flesh wound, it's not long before Kwi-han starts to feel weak. The arrow must have been poisoned. He passes out in the hallway, where his assistant is desperately clutching him when Kyulhan appears. Because he's literally the world's biggest jerk, his first response is to scold Kwi-han's assistant for lying there instead of running for help. He doesn't even look especially worried for his brother. Actually, his attention has been snagged by a familiar scent on the scene, one he could pick up anywhere. Haji, meanwhile, is back in her bedroom with no idea of what Kwi-han is going through outside. Now that she knows about the potion, she's more worried about what happens when it wears off. Will Kyulhan go back to wanting her dead when he's no longer seduced by her? She falls asleep, thinking herself safe for the time being. Little does she know, a certain black cat has just landed on her windowsill. Oh no, this is not gonna be good. She wakes up and freaks out. I mean, who wouldn't if that guy was standing over your bed? At first, she thinks it's a dream and flops back on her pillow. I don't know how, but she literally falls straight asleep, so Kyulhan picks her up and carries her over to the window. Thank goodness Haji woke up before he could do anything nasty, like throw her outside. He tells her what happened to his brother and says she has to come with him somewhere. Thanks, Kyulhan. Irritatingly vague as always. They arrive in Kwihan's chambers, where his assistant tells him he's been treated. They're trying to prepare an antidote, but the poison hasn't been completely neutralized yet. Time is running out, and they're not sure they'll be able to produce it fast enough. They need to find an expert, one who might already have an antidote for something like this. I have a feeling we might finally be about to meet the mysterious potion master we've heard so much about. Haji offers her help, so she and Kyulhan mount a horse and start riding through the forest. They've been sent to retrieve the ex-director of the Royal Apothecary, the mentor who coached Hee-woong. But obviously, in a crisis, Haji and Kyulhan aren't exactly the dream team. They can't seem to figure out whether they love or hate each other, and putting them in a situation where they need to hold tight to one another? Well, the prince seems to be enjoying it. To cover his desire, Kyulhan acts extra mean, yelling at her not to touch him. Thankfully, they've arrived. So we're safe from any more romantic tension for approximately 2 more panels, since Haji is going in by herself. She reassures the prince that his brother will be fine, and he rides off back to the palace with a little smile. Wait, a smile? As in, maybe the first smile we've seen all series? Oh, this kitty is down bad. At the apothecary, Hee-woong comes rushing to the door, delighted to see Haji again. He thinks she's escaped and tries to get her inside, but there's no time for a catch-up. She immediately asks for his tutor, but he still hasn't returned from his travels. Hee-woong agrees to go in his place. Even though he hates the palace, he's too good a person to let a man die without trying to save him. See? I told you. Bear Boy is endgame. Let's forget about Kyulhan. He grabs his ingredients and they speed off to the palace straight away. Kyulhan sees them return and is surprised that Hee-woong volunteered to walk into the palace. He tells Haji the apothecary master would never have come, even if he was at the forest house, because he left his station at the palace after being sentenced to execution for the crime of poisoning the late king. Whoa, then this goes deep. There's clearly some history between Hee-woong and Kyulhan too, since they both recognize each other and grew up in the palace. I can't believe the prince was willing to let his mentor return if they really thought he'd killed his father. Oh, and by the way, I know we've said it before, but what is it with this legal system? Do they only know how to sentence people to death? Does no one ever get, like, community service or anything? Anyway, when Hee-woong conducts his initial examination, he seems worried. Not even his mentor would have been able to cure Kwihan, because there's nothing to cure. Yes, that's right. He faked it, folks. As it turns out, the arrow that slashed him did have a poison on it, so the fainting was real. But he's resistant to that particular poison. I guess when you're first in line to the throne, you could build up an immunity from all the assassination attempts. He decided instead to use this opportunity to help Haji. Kwihan acts very suspicious, and doesn't give a lot of details, but he asks for Hee-woong's help to see his plan through to the end. I have no idea what any of that means, or if it's good or bad for Haji, but I can't complain now that Hee-woong is back in the picture. The next morning, it's announced that the prince has fully recovered. He summons Haji to his chambers, so Hee-woong walks her over, assuring her she's not in trouble. He's decided to stay in the palace a little longer, and when Haji asks him why, he just says, "You." Does anyone else have major butterflies? Actually, he was interrupted by a passing noble lady who stops to chat to them in the hallway. Can you guess who it is? A woman who has appeared at just the perfect moment to shake things up again? That's right, it's Minju. Somehow, she has the nerve to greet Hee-woong and completely ignores Haji. Actually, it's worse than that. She's super flirty with Bear Boy and gives Haji major side-eye. Of course, now Haji is questioning herself. Maybe that wasn't really Minju? She's certainly acting very different to the girl she knew in the human world. After a brief and very formal conversation, she passes on. Hee-woong escorts her to Kwihan's chambers, where she walks in to find an entire staff of maids and butlers waiting for her. They call her Lady Haji. They bow to her. One of the butlers even drops to his knees to polish some dust off her shoes. Well, it's about time someone showed her an ounce of respect. Once she's past the army of servants, Haji gets to the prince himself, who addresses her formally and immediately gets very up close and friendly. He finds it amusing that she's so thrown by all the servants bowing and scraping at her feet. After all, she had a role in saving his life. It's only natural they would treat her like royalty. From now on, she'll be allowed to roam freely around the palace, though he does warn her to avoid strangers. Haji admits she already met one, that girl who looks like Minju. Kwihan's assistant reveals she's the Duke's daughter. That's why she was so standoffish. Still smells fishy to me, but as usual, Haji is completely unfazed. She asks after Jimin and is quickly told she can see him whenever she wants. I guess there are a lot of perks to her new status. When they meet, Jimin is all new and shiny too. For some reason, they've given him the position of Prince Kyohan's assistant. It's a pretty high status for a criminal, so it is pretty shocking that he managed to climb all that way to the top. Jimin tells the story of how, after she left the rat village, Kyohan paid his family home a visit and offered him a deal. He wouldn't give back the medicine, but he would send an apothecary to treat Jimin's mother and lift his execution sentence. In return, Jimin became his aide. That's why he sold her out, after all, when she was staying in the forest. He apologizes for all the times he's put her in danger, and there have been a lot of times. But good old Haji doesn't care. She's just happy they're both safe and sound. Though it does surprise her that someone as vicious as Kyohan would want to keep a criminal as his assistant. Maybe he just wants to keep an eye on him, but that doesn't seem like the prince we first met. Before they can talk anymore, Jimin rushes off to attend to his duties, leaving Haji to wander in the garden. She's so absorbed in her thoughts that she quickly gets lost. Following her nose, as usual, she ends up in the kitchens, where the staff greet her warmly as the savior of their prince. They offer her a little bag of cookies as a snack, so she leaves quietly, not wanting to get in the way of their dinner preparations. But she's just as lost after leaving the kitchens, and ends up in a grand ballroom with no scent to lead the way. It's no surprise that her sense of direction is so poor, since she's been in isolation all this time. But of course, the first person she bumps into is Kyohan, swinging around the corner and straight into his arms. These two, they really have to stop meeting like this. Haji explains that she got lost, and he immediately calls her stupid. Every time he gets a whiff of her hair, he starts being rude to her. It must be his defense mechanism. Then, the craziest thing happens. He starts purring. He can't control himself around her scent. It just makes him so happy the sound comes out naturally. I can't tell if that's cute or kind of weird. Haji thinks it's adorable, and since cats have always hated her, she's super happy to hear one purring in real life for the first time. So happy that she forgets all about their history and dives straight in for a hug. Well, that's a line they haven't crossed so far. Kyohan can hardly stand to be that close, so he yells at her and shoves her away. Haji quickly apologizes, but that just makes her look even cuter, just like a puppy dog. Desperate for a chance to change the subject, she asks if he's seen Jimin. Kyohan is just as nasty a boss as he is a person, so he told his assistant to get back to work, though he does admit he was looking for her. He also admits that he's surprised the two of them are still friends, considering the whole betrayal thing. But Haji just takes that as a sign he's looking out for her, and thanks him for the concern, brushing off his comments. And after all, he has no right to pass judgment. Jimin was literally just following his orders. How can he call him a traitor when he did what Kyohan wanted? Haji then remembers that conversation with her mousy friend and brings up the human world, asking why it's such a dangerous secret. Immediately, Kyohan is suspicious. He wants to know why she's so curious, but it's only natural since it's her world they're so wary of. It's where her family and her dogs live, so why is it this big scary secret? Kyohan points out that there aren't only good things about the human world, something that Haji knows better than anyone. Ever the optimist, she tells him she has more happy memories than bad ones, so it can't be all that bad. Really, Haji? I mean, we saw what you went through. Didn't look like there was a whole lot to be happy about, with all the bullying and attempts on her life. Kyohan reacts really weirdly to that. He doesn't understand her response and suddenly gets close, reaching a hand up to her cheek. It looks like his resolve might finally have crumbled. That is until Kwihan walks in, interrupting what was sure to be a very steamy moment. He's come to deliver an invitation for Haji from a family called House Hay. She already recognizes the scent on the envelope. It's the girl who looks like Minju. She's inviting her to a little tea party, which sounds incredibly suspicious. Kyohan also seems to have his reservations, but his brother stops him for some reason. Poor Haji just wants an answer as to why there's a girl who looks like, sounds like, and even smells like her best friend walking around this magical world. So of course, she says yes. She asks Kwi-han for his formal permission to attend, and he agrees. It kind of looks like he never wanted her to meet the Minju lookalike in the first place. But since that plan has already fallen apart, he's not going to stop her now. He's pretty lax for the leader of a kingdom, huh? Then, out of nowhere, Kyul-han announces he'll escort her. Is this Minju copy really that dangerous? Or does this prince not want his two lady loves mixing without him around? Either way, I smell trouble. Mark my words, something is going to go down at this tea party. Kwi-han's anger grows when Kyul-han insists on attending the girls' tea party with Haji. Ansu steps in, urging them to stop as Haji watches them. She reassures Haji that everything will be fine. As long as Haji is prepared, there's no need to worry. Kyul-han points out that Haji is an honored guest of the royal family and questions if she'll bring dishonor to them. Haji feels overwhelmed and unsure she can handle the pressure. But Kwi-han insists Kyul-han shouldn't attend, saying it's inappropriate for a man to be at a ladies' event and that it would only worsen the rumors about them. Ansu then brings up the gossip about Haji and Kyul-han being engaged or getting married. Both are shocked, and Kyul-han wonders who started such rumors. Haji realizes it might have been an excuse she gave while running away. Kwi-han concludes that they should avoid being seen together until the rumors die down. Kyul-han, frustrated, vows to find the person responsible and put an end to it. Later, Haji retreats to her room feeling drained. She lies on her bed, thinking about meeting Jimin and preparing for the tea party. She reflects on her fear of meeting new people, a result of past bullying. However, she is determined to face her fears, especially with Minju, knowing she can't avoid her forever. She's going to face her demons head on. It's now or never, Haji! Bring your A-game to that tea party! As she stands up, her eyes land on the cookies she almost forgot about, and a new idea sparks in her mind. The next day, she meets Jimin in the kitchen and tells him they'll be baking cookies. As they begin to bake the cookies together, the kitchen quickly turns into a chaotic mess with flour flying and ingredients everywhere. However, after they bake the cookies, Haji tastes them and they turn out to be delicious. Same goes for the sandwich they made. Who knew disaster could taste this sweet? Jimin then asks if the cookies are a gift to someone. She replies that it's for the party she's invited to, and she plans to bring the cookies as a gift. As they are talking, two maids appear behind Haji's back. They are filled with excitement upon hearing that she is invited to a salon. One maid also concludes that soon she might be debuting in high society. Jimin thinks about it, and it also implies that the palace wants to have a good relationship with her. He adds that her debutante ball is upcoming. The maid is thrilled to hear that she'll be debuting soon, and that the royal family will handle it. They begin thinking about the preparations, and her ball will be extravagant, which Haji also wonders about. Jimin then asks her who sent the tea party invitation. Haji forgets who sent it, but she has the invitation letter with her. She reads who it comes from, which is from the house Hai. As the maids hear where it comes from, they start to whisper to each other. Jimin then asks if she'll be all right at the tea party. He also adds that it's a family who holds power, and the count is ambitious. He wants to have his daughter engaged to the prince. The maid also adds that the count's daughter's friends are all ladies from noble families. With that, they wonder if bringing cookies to the party will be enough. This is more than just cookies, this is survival! Hearing this, Haji thinks that they will love her cookies since they come from the heart. However, Jimin questions if it's truly enough. As Haji wonders how to impress at the tea party, considering catnip or some tricks, Kwi-han arrives. The maids quickly prepare tea for him, and Jimin quietly stands aside, sensing they need privacy. Catnip? Girl, are you trying to host a feline frenzy instead of a tea party? Kwi-han just whispers about catnip, reminding her to keep it a secret. He also tells her to learn proper tea party etiquette. He then asks Haji to join him for tea so he can teach her etiquette. She agrees, and he introduces the tea, encouraging her to try it. However, Haji finds it sour and bitter. This makes her worry about the upcoming tea party. She even asks if she'll be fine at the party if she can't even drink tea properly, fearing others will judge her, especially Kyul-han. Kwi-han smirks, reassuring her that Kyul-han won't think badly of her. Still anxious, Haji fears embarrassing the royal family. He assures her it's natural to be unfamiliar with it and promises to have milder tea prepared for the party. Haji asks if getting used to drinking tea will take away her problems. Kyul-han replies that it will, since having tea with good company is a pleasant experience. He also says he hopes she learns to enjoy it. Encouraged, Haji, full of confidence, declares that she'll try her best, and so she drinks the tea without stopping, despite its unusual taste. Suddenly, she's a tea-drinking warrior ready to conquer those bitter leaves with sheer willpower. Jimin then comments that if she keeps drinking it, she might have trouble sleeping. As night falls, Haji lies in bed, unable to sleep. She eventually decides to take a walk, bringing a shawl and some cookies with her. A tea-fueled insomnia has finally hit! While wandering around the mansion, she stumbles upon a beautiful spot she never knew existed. But before she can take it all in, someone suddenly grabs her from behind, startling her. It's Kyulhan, who mistakes her for an intruder and nearly attacks her. He demands to know what she's doing outside. She explains that she's having trouble sleeping after drinking too much tea earlier with cookies. She's taken aback when his hand touches her hair. Kyulhan then remarks that his hand moved involuntary, perhaps because of the scent. He notices the cookies and asks about them. Haji replies that she baked them herself as a gift for the ladies at the tea party. Still unsure if people will like them, she asks him to try one and share his opinion. As he's about to eat the cookie, he pauses and asks her if she has something to say. She shakes her head. That's when a thought crosses his mind if she didn't put anything suspicious in the cookies. Haji denies Kyulhan's accusations about the cookies she offers him. She then explains that she finds it interesting that they enjoy tea parties and snacks, even though they are cats, compared to the cats in her world. Kyulhan becomes furious at her comparison of them to the cats in her world. He adds that the cats in her world are domesticated by humans and don't have abilities that can be passed down to their next generation. You can practically see the aristocratic feline eyebrows being raised in offense. Even though he hates cats raised by humans, she asks why Kyulhan has been transformed into a cat when he is in her world. He considers replying, but doesn't continue what he was about to say. Instead, he advises her to go back inside, warning that she'll catch a cold if she stays out longer. As she's about to leave, she asks his opinion on the cookies. He replies that the cookies are good, and the fragrance as well. She assumes the fragrance comes from the vanilla beans she poured in, but it's actually her hair. He smells it and even kisses her hair, which shocks her. He then apologizes for his actions, explaining that he wasn't aware of what his body was doing. She leaves, trying to act as if nothing happened. Later, when Haji lies down in bed, she reflects on the interaction with Kyulhan earlier that makes it hard for her to fall asleep. The next day, Jimin asks if Haji slept well, but she says she didn't. He assumes it's because of the tea party, but she answers that it's because of Kyulhan. Jimin then informs her that Kyulhan personally ordered him to come with her. She feels grateful upon hearing this to have him at the party. The day of the tea party arrives. As Haji steps out of the carriage, Jimin assists her. She's amazed by the salon where the tea party is going to be held. Before she enters the venue, Jimin asks if she's truly sure about attending the party. She replies that she doesn't have a choice. There's no turning back now. Still, Jimin tells her that they can leave if she wants, that it's not too late yet. Hearing his words, she recalls what Kyulhan said earlier. It's a tea party or bust. Jimin's words trigger a flashback to Kyulhan's earlier mixed signals. That morning, the maids woke her to prepare for the tea party. She took a bath, chose a dress, and even did her makeup. While she was getting ready, Kyulhan entered her room. He was about to say something, but when Haji turned around, he seemed to hesitate. One of the maids asked Kyulhan for his opinion on her appearance, but it was Jimin who answered first, complimenting her look. She then asked why Kyulhan was up so early. He replied that he had come to see her, to ask whether she planned to attend the tea party. She confirmed that she did. Kyulhan told her that if she didn't truly want to go, she should just skip it. As an honored guest of the family, he explained she still had much to learn. Despite all he said, Haji told him she was fine with attending the party. She was grateful to everyone who had helped her prepare, especially Jimin and Kyulhan. She assured them that she would do her best at the party. Hence, Haji makes up her mind to enter the salon, even gaslighting herself into believing that it isn't right to judge people based on their rank in society. As she enters the salon, she feels anxious but remains focused on the purpose of why she came. 3 noble ladies from well-known families welcome her and introduce themselves. One of them is Minju, who seems familiar to her. However, as she looks at them, Sulhi and Mayoa raise their fans to cover their faces, a gesture she knows to be a sign of dislike. She wonders what she did wrong. Jimin whispers to her that it's because she keeps staring at them, which, to women like them, who are compared to cats, can be taken as a challenge. So Haji quickly covers her eyes. The 2 ladies glance at each other, puzzled by her action, but eventually understand that she's trying to show them she means no harm. Ah, the delicate action of feline social cues. When the ladies turn their attention back to Haji, she takes out the cookies she made herself. Mayoa raises a brow, questioning why Haji had to bake them instead of asking the servants to do it. Haji quickly assures them that she didn't add anything to the cookies. Jimin also claims that even the prince thinks her cookies are delicious. Upon hearing that the prince likes them, Minju finally accepts the cookies. Jimin, however, thinks to himself that they only accepted them because of the prince. But Haji doesn't bother thinking that way. She's simply grateful that they accepted her offering. Only Mayoa and Sulhi say that they're grateful and will surely eat the cookies, while Minju looks displeased, as if she only accepted them out of obligation. However, when Haji leaves to go to the washroom, Minju scolds them, saying their behavior earlier was disappointing. She reminds him that they were supposed to teach Haji a lesson for hiding behind the royal family's protection. The two ladies are shocked by Minju's words. They explain that Haji is hard to resist. Her scent is so captivating that they can't help but feel weak around her. They even ask if Minju didn't notice Haji's scent. That question makes Minju think of Haji as a person in a different world who tries to ruin her. She suddenly gets up, furious, and decides to look for Haji, who's been gone for a while. Meanwhile, Haji feels anxious about her actions earlier. But thinking of how Manhwa and Sulhi clung to her, she believes she's left a good impression. She's also happy to see their cat ears up close. Still, Minju lingers in her mind. Her aura is truly intimidating. Haji notices that Minju's scent is similar to that of her childhood friend from her world. This leads her to wonder if Lady Minju and her friend Minju are actually the same person. The intimidating aura, the familiar scent? Could it be a cross-dimensional childhood friend reunion? As she exits the powder room, she's shocked to see Minju waiting right outside the door. On the other hand, Kwi-han begins to notice that something is bothering Kyul-han. Kyul-han denies being worried, but Kwi-han hints that something might be on his mind, though not necessarily who he's concerned about. When Kyul-han defends himself, Kwi-han calmly acknowledges that it's natural to be troubled and shares that something's bothering him too, but assures Kyul-han that he sent someone trustworthy to handle it. Meanwhile, Haji asks why Minju is outside the powder room. Minju suddenly raises her voice, asking if Haji suspects her of planning something awful. This triggers a memory for Haji, reminding her of when Minju from her world once pushed her. This otherworld Minju has a history of pushing? We need more details on this past aggression. Just then, Haji hears a man's voice. It's Hee-wong. He then asks if something's happened or if she needs his help. Hee-wong explains that he was sent by someone and reveals he's heard someone might be trying to harm her. He reassures everyone that, as an honored guest, the royal family would investigate if anything happened to her. Hee-wong turns to Minju, asking her to speak up, but she denies everything. He then asks for Haji's permission to escort her back to the palace under the prince's orders. Minju, realizing she can't oppose a royal order, agrees to let the other ladies leave the salon as well. Before leaving, Hee-wong hands Minju a letter from the prince. As Hee-wong and Haji depart, Minju opens the letter, and the other ladies eagerly gather around, thrilled that it's from the prince. This tea party aftermath is way more exciting than the tea party itself. After reading the letter, Minju informs Manhwa and Sulhi that the prince is interested in the ladies who attended today's tea party. She adds that the prince has invited them to the upcoming royal tea party. Most importantly, he's requested that they take special care of Haji, as her formal debut into society is approaching. Since it's a direct request from the prince, they decide they must treat Haji with care. Back at the palace, Haji returns and greets the servants warmly. She tells them that the party was fun, but admits that something strange happened. Just then, Kyul-han and Kwi-han call out to her when they see her speaking with the servants. Haji turns and greets them with a cheerful smile. Kwi-han casually mentions that Kyul-han was worried and had been waiting for her. Hearing that, Haji lights up and is about to approach Kyul-han, but he gently stops her, sensing that something has happened. He asks her to sit and then stand, carefully observing her. Then, he reaches out his hand and asks for hers. To his surprise, Haji shyly curls her fingers and closes her hand like a cat. Kwi-han laughs, clearly amused, and wonders aloud why she's acting like that. What in the perfect world was that? Kyul-han laughs at Haji's strange reaction, and both Haji and Kwi-han are surprised by how he responds to her quirky gesture. They then ask Haji about her experience at the tea party. She tells them she enjoyed it, but feels a bit sad about returning to the palace early. Kwi-han thinks that her disappointment might stem from needing to leave early because of him. To cheer her up, Kwi-han suggests that they host an outdoor tea party for the upcoming holiday. He even proposes inviting the ladies from her first tea party at the salon. The days pass, and the day of the outdoor tea party finally arrives. Haji is amused by how beautifully everything has been arranged for the tea party. She admits that she didn't know tea parties could even be held outdoors. Kyul-han says that outdoor tea parties are smaller than those held inside the palace, but they're less extravagant. Haji is surprised by how he describes the outdoor tea party, as she finds the venue quite charming. What did you expect, Haji? He was born into royalty. Money never mattered to him. Noticing her amazement, Kyul-han gently warns her not to space out too much, or she might get lost. While observing the two of them, Kwi-han asks Ansu what kind of relationship they have, since it seems they're getting closer. Ansu casually describes them as master and pet. As the guests finally arrive, Haji is taken aback to see Minju among them. Minju, in turn, is surprised to see that she's escorted by Kyul-han. Kwi-han clears his throat to ease the tension in the air, but observes that Minju is acting a little differently from the other ladies. He then warmly exclaims that he's grateful they've accepted his invitation and hopes they'll enjoy their time at the palace. Haji asks Kyul-han how long they need to hold hands, but he misinterprets it, thinking she doesn't want to. She quickly clarifies, but Minju interrupts, asking if they can start the tea party. As Haji tries to release Kyulhan's hand, he holds it tighter, while Minju signals her to talk. This Minju wants to have all the spotlight. At the venue, rumors spread about Haji being one of Minju's assistants, which Minju finds amusing to hear rumors about her. When they sit, the ladies ask if Haji and Minju have resolved their misunderstanding. Minju explains she was trying to help Haji at the salon. Manhwa defends her, saying Minju couldn't have meant what Haji thought. Then Minju apologizes, leaving the ladies impressed with her handling of the situation. Her explanation is as believable as a cat who claims they didn't knock over the vase. Their actions make Haji reflect on how this situation mirrors one from her other world. Meanwhile, Kwi-han noticed Kyulhan eavesdropping and asks if he's worried, which Kyulhan denies, though he notices Haji's anxiety. Haji decides to leave, fearing a repeat of her past experiences, but Minju stops her. She informs Haji that Manhwa and Sulhi want more of her cookies, and also asks her to brew tea for them personally. While Haji brews the tea, Jimin watches her, impressed by how she's doing and admiring her princess-like appearance. However, as he's about to leave, he hears a cough. The ladies become concerned when blood appears from Minju's mouth, suspecting that the tea Haji made is poisoned, especially after the spoon turns black. And there it is! Minju's dramatic cue. The butler asks what happened, and Manhwa accuses Haji of poisoning the tea. Despite the accusations, Haji defends herself, but Minju insists she's the one who poisoned it. The accusations flood in, and Haji's mind shifts back to a similar situation in the other world. Back then, she was bullied and falsely accused of things without proof, just like the current situation at the tea party. As the tension rises, Minju pretends to be the victim, as she knows that Haji is not the one who puts the poison but the ladies. She just ingested it to make it more realistic in case the doctor will conduct a test on her. And just when the situation worsens, Kyulhan arrives. Okay, Minju playing a very dangerous game. This level of manipulation is on another level. Kyulhan angrily confronts the ladies who dare to disrespect Haji, who's an honored guest of the royal family, and adds that nobody has the right to treat her that way since it shows blatant disrespect towards the royal family. Minju then starts to act weakly and tells Kyulhan that Haji poisoned her with the tea that she just brewed. Minju starts to act all innocent, questioning Haji why she did such a thing. Witnessing Minju accusing her, Haji feels disappointed and shocked as to why she was framing her. Suddenly, Kwi-han arrives, smiling amidst the situation. He asks Minju what symptoms she is experiencing, which makes Minju flinch a little. Composing herself, she admits feeling nausea, chills, and dehydration. Hearing this, Kwi-han turns to the cup Minju drank from and suddenly drinks it all up, shocking everyone. Kwi-han, you're so cool! Seeing this stunt, Minju starts to worry a little. She knows that the amount that they put in the tea may not be fatal, but it can be enough to make anyone faint upon drinking it all. After drinking that tea, Kwi-han smirks and announces to everyone that it didn't seem poisoned at all. Minju starts to sweat and worries that her evil plan backfired on her. Thus, she tries to object but stops when she almost reveals the truth. Other guests then begin judging Minju, realizing that she's trying to frame Haji. It might be because she thinks Haji stole Kyulhan's attention. Hearing this, Minju starts to feel anxious, but then Haji suddenly approaches her, offering her a helping hand as she urges Minju to get up. She reassures Minju not to mind what others are saying. Minju quickly rejects this and tries to excuse herself, but Kyulhan blocks her since Minju needs to explain properly what happened. Because of this, Minju has no choice but to quickly shift the blame to Sulhi and Manhwa. Seeing that Minju is accusing Manhwa and Sulhi, he reminds Minju that she invited the ladies herself. But Minju argues. She thought she could trust them. Just then, Manhwa and Sulhi attempt to tell the truth, but Minju glares daggers at them, a silent threat. Intimidated, the two ladies are left helpless. Minju excuses that the poison might have just worsened her already existing symptoms, causing her to collapse. She tries to get pity from the crowd, insinuating that Manhwa and Sulhi know about her illness, but still chose to poison her anyway. Unable to object, the two have no choice but to take the blame. Knowing that Minju might be lying, Kwi-han still acts as if he believes her. Sarcastically, he tells Minju to see a doctor to get a proper diagnosis, adding that she should secure a written record of her illness. After the commotion, Haji notices that Kyulhan is still holding her hand. Thus, she points it out to Kyulhan, who quickly lets go. Flustered, he tries to tell her that it was only because she was trembling earlier. Kyulhan, we know you like holding her too. Later, Haji sees Minju walking away, realizing that Minju has the same scent as the original Minju. She wants to know more about her, so she asks Kwi-han if she can pay Minju a short visit. As Haji runs off, Jimin quickly follows her. Haji successfully catches up to Minju. Catching her attention, Minju glares at Haji and asks what she wants. Haji reluctantly asks Minju if she knows about the existence of a different world, but Minju quickly denies, sharing that she only hears rumors about it. Hearing this, Haji feels disappointed since this Minju looks and smells exactly like the original Minju she knew. However, Minju tells Haji that she might only be recalling a dream. As Minju walks away, Haji shares that she's sorry for her mistake. It's just that the person she was looking for was a good friend to her. Her last statement leaves Minju stunned, and she quickly grabs Haji. Aren't they already friends? This then surprises Haji. Oh, Haji, you're so gullible! Meanwhile, Kyulhan is still blushing because of his little encounter with Haji earlier. He starts to realize that Haji smells nice, but unbeknownst to him, Kwehan is enjoying his flustered predicament. Back at the forest, Jimin feels a little guilty that he is eavesdropping on Minju and Haji's conversation, yet he still thinks that Minju might be up to no good. Everyone thinks that Minju is cold, but little do they know that she's only trying to set an example of elegance. Minju tells Haji how she has no real friends since they all just use her for her family's connections. Haji reflects on Minju's past behavior. No wonder she looked so unapproachable and distant. This Minju may look like her original friend, but she knows that this Minju is different, concluding they're not the same person. Yet despite this, Haji promises to be Minju's friend from now on. Why are you so kind and understanding? Can't you see Minju is faking it? Meanwhile, Jimin thinks the girls' conversation is going better than he anticipated. But suddenly, he hears Haji scream, only to see Minju pushing her into the river. As Minju pushes Haji, she confesses that she is, in fact, the same Minju from her world. However, she thinks Haji is a thorn in her life. Jimin confronts Minju, telling her that he'll tell the prince everything, but Minju already expected him to say such a thing. Jimin then tries to save Haji, but he doesn't notice Minju sneaking up behind him. Without hesitation, Minju stabs him, pushing him into the river to be dragged by the current. Meanwhile, Kyulhan starts to look for Haji. Kwehan informs him that Haji went to see Minju, adding that Jimin accompanied her. Knowing this, Kyulhan brings it upon himself to look for Haji, even if Kwehan offers to send someone to look for her instead. For some reason, Kyulhan thinks that something bad might happen. Haji sees an unconscious Jimin also in the river. She grabs him but is horrified when she realizes that he's been stabbed. The current sweeps them both, plunging them to a drop and leaving Haji screaming for help. Meanwhile, Kyulhan could not leave the gathering since his aunt had arrived. As they are chatting, his aunt starts to tease him with Haji and comments that he looks comfortable with her. This makes him flustered, so he tries to deny his aunt's words. But Kyulhan still can't take his mind off where Haji might be, and he starts to feel that something is off. True enough, Kyulhan's guts are right, and he spots the butler frantically talking with Kwehan, holding a bloodied knife. Seeing this, he freezes, and heavy rain begins to pour. Hearing the butler's report, Kyulhan worries about Haji more. With a whole team of guards, he leads them on a search for Haji. Meanwhile, in her carriage, Minju reflects that, in the other world, Haji steals everything that she wants, just like what she's doing in this world. She then notices that she is trembling after stabbing someone for the first time, but her thoughts are interrupted when her carriage stops abruptly. Kyulhan has come to intercept her. What a heartless and greedy person you are, Minju! Haji suddenly starts to dream about her original life and how other kids mistreat her, thinking that she might be a useless person. Suddenly, she feels refreshed, causing her to wake up. Upon opening her eyes, the man tending to her advises her to rest and not speak yet. He wonders if Haji doesn't recognize him. He then puts his hair in a pigtail, thinking Haji would recognize him better, but all she can think of is a pervert with pigtails. Unfortunately, if he had his face that close to mine, I'd assume the same thing too. Meanwhile, after being stopped by Kyulhan, Minju gets out of the carriage. He asks Minju if she knows of Haji's whereabouts since she's the last person whom Haji talked to. Still, Minju starts to act innocent, telling Kyulhan that she never met with Haji. Kyulhan's patience starts to thin, so he draws his sword and points it at Minju. He makes her swear over her family's honor and name that she really has no idea where Haji is. Hearing this, Minju is hurt and baffled that Kyulhan would go to this extent. However, she still remains firm, lying to Kyulhan with a straight face as she claims she never saw Haji. Minju, you really are a vile woman! Even after Minju swears to him, Kyulhan still doesn't believe her. Yet he tells her that he will trust her, and he then apologizes for suspecting her. I mean, she does give off liar vibes. Just saying. Just then, Minju comments that if Haji meant to catch up with her at the clinic, then there might be a chance that Haji was swept away by the river's violent currents. Kyulhan freezes, a look of horror as he mulls over Minju's comment. He then makes haste to the river, leaving Minju alone. Meanwhile, Kwehan is with the other guards who are searching the forest thoroughly for traces of Haji and Jimin. A while later, Hee-wang also arrives and volunteers to help search. This is when Kwehan shows him the bloody dagger. Hee-wong tells Kwi-han it's a hunting dagger, to which Kwi-han comments that it is not something a noble lady would keep. He then realizes that Kwi-han is suspecting Minju. However, Kwi-han ceases his baseless suspicion, worrying about having a conflict with the House of Hae. Soon after, a guard reports that Kyulhan is not within the area, making Kwi-han even more stressed. Meanwhile, Kyulhan and some guards arrive at the river's end. It drops into a waterfall. Desperate to find Haji, he's determined to climb down using a rope instead of traveling around the river. Ugh, what a man in love you are, Kyulhan! But please, be careful! As Kyulhan is climbing down the waterfalls, he starts to remember that, in the past, he thought sacrificing oneself for someone was ridiculous. Yet here he is now, risking his life to find Haji. Kyulhan starts to realize that if Haji didn't leap in front of him, he never would have understood the virtue of sacrifice. Internally, he swears not to forgive Haji if she dies like this. Ugh, love can make you do crazy things! Meanwhile, inside the cave, the professor is about to head out and gather some herbs when he suddenly hears her mumbling Kyulhan's name. Hearing this, he recognizes the name as the boy who's second in line for the throne and Kwi-han's younger brother. But what makes Kyulhan stand out more in his memory is how he has two different eye colors. Kyulhan, on the other hand, continues to climb down the waterfall when he suddenly realizes that the rope isn't long enough to reach the bottom. His solution? He asks the rope to be cut. He looks at the ground below, seeing that it isn't too steep. He then thinks he can manage the fall. Hearing this, the guard hesitates, reminding him that he can't swim if he falls into the river. Even worse, he might die from falling. But impatient as ever, Kyulhan then starts cutting it himself. However, lightning strikes, startling the horse and causing Kyulhan to plummet sooner and fall into the river. Elsewhere, a young woman is surprised to see an unconscious person lying on the ground. It's Jimin. For Haji's sake, Kyulhan forces himself to swim against the current and resurface, just so he can save her. When he reaches the riverbank, he feels the exhaustion and pain of his body, yet he perseveres, searching for Haji. He knows there's no guarantee that she could be there, but nevertheless, he continues. As if fate had favored him, Kyulhan sees a cave nearby, and walking out of it is a weak Haji. Coincidence? Nope. It's destiny at this point. He runs to her as she falls, relieved to have finally found her. He carries her inside and starts a fire, hoping to warm her up. Soon enough, he falls asleep right next to her. A surprising sight for the professor. He had just finished gathering herbs, and now there's two of them that he needs to tend to. Days later, Jimin wakes up in an unfamiliar place. The last thing he remembers is accompanying Haji. He jolts awake and sits up, worried about Haji. However, he stops when he feels the stinging pain of his wound. The girl who's been taking care of him then informs him that it's been 3 days since he lost consciousness, advising him to rest. When she asks how he got hurt, Jimin refuses to answer, keeping mum about the events leading up to his injury. After all, he can't trust anyone just yet after what he just went through. Back at the cave, Haji also wakes up feeling much better, but her cheeks burn when she sees Kyulhan asleep beside her. The professor breaks the news to Haji. She's been asleep for 3 days, and everyone is desperately searching for her. Haji then asks the professor if he happens to see a boy with pink hair, but the professor tells her that he already searched the area, but he hasn't seen anyone other than them. As he ventured, he also stumbled across some tracks left by guards, so it's best for Haji and Kyulhan to stay in the cave and wait till they're found. I hope they find them soon, though. My poor girl needs some tending to. After packing his things, the professor informs Haji that he'll be leaving, handing her a bottle of antidote that works against most poisons. He confesses that the antidote is actually really precious since it took him so long to make it because of the late king's illness. Hearing this, Haji remembers that Kyulhan had already shared with her about his late father's story, and how the past director of the royal apothecary suddenly ran away after his father's death. As the professor bids farewell, he reminds Haji that she can't stay for too long since she might not be able to go back home. Left alone, Haji starts waking Kyulhan, telling him of her suspicions. As he gets up, he confirms what she's thinking. The professor is the late king's doctor, the past director of the royal apothecary. Soon enough, help arrives as the guards, Kwi-han and Hee-wong, find them in a cave. Hee-wong sees the herbs inside the cave, noticing that some are not in the book he studies. He then realizes that this professor might be the one who helped Haji. The following day, while they're having tea, Kwi-han shares that he feels relieved that Haji and Kyulhan are both safe. He even teases Kyulhan for voluntarily climbing down a cliff to save Haji. This makes Kyulhan blush profusely, but he tries to reason that it's only because Haji is an honored royal guest. Haji then asks Kwi-han if he has news about Jimin's whereabouts and condition. Seeing Haji's worried face, Kwi-han is then torn between telling her the truth or following his plan. Meanwhile, Ansu manages to find Jimin, much to Jimin's surprise. The two converse, with Jimin filling Ansu in about what Minju did to him and Haji. Ansu, in turn, reveals that Kwi-han had sent him to look for Jimin to relay a message. Jimin should lie low for a while. Apparently, the House of Hai is currently hunting for Jimin, leaving him no choice but to agree with Ansu's suggestion. However, deep down, Jimin's guilt gnaws at him for not being able to protect Haji. Jimin, you deserve to rest too, and it's not your fault. Back at the palace, Kwi-han later pushes Kyul-han and Haji out his door, urging them to rest. He even has maids follow them around, keeping a close eye on them. But one thing bothers Kwi-han. Haji's injuries were healed so quickly. No doubt someone used strong and effective medicine on her. His mind can only wander to one specific person. I bet he's suspecting the professor too. Kwi-han begins remembering Haji for the first time after searching for her for 3 days. As he recalls her smile, he notices how his heart is pounding louder and faster than usual. Oh no, it looks like Kwi-han is also falling for Haji. Meanwhile, Kyul-han begins to scare and shoo away the 2 maids following them, much to their dismay. Soon enough, they heed his orders, albeit reluctantly. Alone, Haji hesitates to ask Kyul-han something. Inside the cave, Kyul-han looked at her worriedly, mentioning something about what would happen if he found her lifeless. However, Kyul-han doesn't continue his statement, and it's what Haji wants to ask him right now. Meanwhile, at the Hai household, Minju is scolded by her father for being stupid with her actions. Since what she did is overly suspicious, the royal family will surely use it against them. As a response, Minju calmly apologizes and assures her father that it won't happen again. But deep down, she's infuriated with her father holding a grudge so deep that she wishes he would just vanish from the face of the world. Back at the palace, Kyul-han is still surprised by Haji's straightforward question. He's speechless, blushing all over without an answer. Luckily, the maids again come running at them, but when they notice his red face, they think he's experiencing a fever. Annoyed, Kyul-han quickly denies and starts to scold the maids again. Looking at Kyul-han, Haji realizes that, just based on his actions, Kyul-han might actually like her. Girl, everyone knows that Kyul-han likes you, and only the both of you are in denial. Haji starts reprimanding herself for thinking that way about Kyul-han. She reminds herself that Kyul-han already has a fiancé, Minju, so it's not right to act and feel the way that she's feeling currently. Without excusing herself, she walks away while Kyul-han is busy scolding the maids. From Kyul-han's peripheral vision, he sees Haji leaving, making him remember her question earlier. He starts to wonder why every time Haji looks and talks to him, his mind goes blank and only focuses on her. Suddenly, Kyul-han notices something odd. He can't smell a single scent coming from Haji. Meanwhile, Hee-wong is disappointed that he still can't find any traces of his professor despite searching for him thoroughly. The bunny girl reassures him that perhaps his professor is closer than he thinks, but he only shakes his head. He would have visited him by now if he was anywhere nearby. Hee-wong, you're completely oblivious. In the following days, the 3 maids that Kwi-han sent are beginning to be too accommodating and caring towards Haji, much to her annoyance. Of course, she feels grateful for their concern, but she can't help but feel a little suffocated. Minutes later, Haji successfully escapes from the maids, but she soon understands that they're only doing this to protect her. Haji then remembers Minju and how she tricked her, unable to understand why she hates her in this world when in fact, they were good friends before. Girl, Minju was only using you, even when she was in the other world. She is faking it. Her thoughts are interrupted when the maids find her, but this time she manages to tell them she only needed some time to think. Hearing this, the maids told her that she could have said that from the start. They would have been happy to give her some alone time. After all, they never want to make her feel uncomfortable. At the palace gardens, Haji takes a stroll to get a breather from the maids. Shortly after, Haji stumbles upon Kwi-han, who is peacefully reading a book by the fountain. He wonders why she is out without her attendants, and she replies that she wanted some space. He then tells her not to punish them for it. Acknowledging her sentiment, Kwi-han asks how she's doing. She answers that she's feeling great, and that it's because the maids have been treating her so well. As she continues to explain, she realizes that she hasn't properly thanked Kwi-han yet. Kwi-han then wonders what Haji could be thankful for, and she explains that it was for when he was searching for her along with Kyul-han. She then promises to bake him cookies later. He then wonders, though she's smiling a lot and expressing gratitude, Haji never mentioned Minju, who was responsible for pushing her down the river. He thinks that Haji must be protecting her. Regardless, he decides that it's best not to mention it for now and proceeds to tell her that she should thank Kyul-han instead, because he has never done that before for someone. Upon hearing this, Haji's face flushes, and she swiftly gets up, announcing that she has to go because she feels hot. Upon seeing her reaction, Kwi-han's heart begins to ache, despite knowing that it's Kyul-han that she likes. On her way back, she overhears the maids talking about Kyul-han's actions just for her. Haji then hears them mentioning marriage, which baffles her. Suddenly, one of the maids spots her, agitating the other maids. They then ask her to deliver Kyulhan's medicine herself because he might accept it from her rather than from the maids. Haji arrives at Kyulhan's door, but no one seems to be behind it. Kyulhan opens the door, wondering why Haji is the one delivering the medicine. After making sure she's okay, he angrily tells her to just leave it on the side table and leave immediately. As Haji enters the room, she's fascinated to see Kyulhan's room. While placing the medicine on the side table, she notices a necklace, which Kyulhan swiftly grabs, telling her not to touch it. He explains that it's from his mother, whom he barely knows. However, she remembers that his mother drowned while trying to save a young Kyulhan. Haji wonders if that's why he dislikes water. She then asks if the reason he saved her was because of the same incident involving his mother, but he dismisses her questions and tells her to leave the room promptly. She refuses, saying she wants to see him take the medicine first. Kyulhan warns her about the implications of staying late at night in a man's room as he moves closer to her face. Before he can reach her, they are interrupted by the maids, who are worried because Haji hasn't returned. Haji quickly leaves the room, leaving a flushed Kyulhan behind. Later, Ansu informs Kwihan about what happened between Haji and Kyulhan. Acknowledging that Kyulhan and Haji have feelings for each other, Kwihan thinks it's better to make their relationship official. Before Ansu can respond, Kwihan asks her to deliver a letter to Jimin. The next morning, Jimin receives the letter while resting after chopping wood. As he opens it, both he and his savior become flustered, promising to tell her everything if she keeps it a secret. The maids tell Haji about the upcoming royal ball, which confuses her since she doesn't know much about royal customs. Besides, they just had a tea party. Despite the maids making a fuss over the event, Haji worries that something similar to what happened at the tea party might happen again. However, the maids are excited to prepare Haji for the ball. At the house of Hae, Jimin is disguised as a maid, cross-dressing, and has been hired by the prince to infiltrate the residence. The problem is Minju, who already recognizes Jimin's face and voice. For now, he must play his role well. Elsewhere, Kyulhan reflects on what happened yesterday between him and Haji. He thinks she was oblivious, which makes him feel bad, yet it also causes him to blush. Meanwhile, after the maids have dolled up Haji, they praise her for looking adorable. Unbeknownst to them, she's already exhausted. Suddenly, a guest enters the room. Kyulhan. The maid immediately slams the door on him, perplexing both Kyulhan and Haji. The maids explain that it's common practice for the man to wait until the event before seeing the woman dressed up, causing both Kyulhan and Haji to shout in unison, embarrassed. Haji then reminds everyone that Minju is Kyulhan's fiancé. Upon hearing this, Kyulhan states that their engagement has been terminated. After Kyulhan informs Haji about the broken engagement, he takes his leave. As Haji reflects on what just happened, the maids continue discussing the broken engagement, even wondering why Kyulhan paid her a visit. Meanwhile, as Kyulhan returns to his duties, he acknowledges that Haji is busy preparing for the ball. He wonders if she's naive, dense, or simply too kind to believe that after the incident with Minju, he would still be engaged to her. He reflects on every interaction with Minju, troubled about how to deal with her. On the day of the ball, Haji rushes to the venue but stumbles over a guest, spilling their drink. Kyulhan notices and quickly steps in. However, Haji stands up for herself, showing she doesn't need his help. After the guest leaves, Kyulhan comments that he thought Haji would just accept the disrespect, but she retorts that allowing herself to be disrespected would be equivalent to disrespecting the crown. Kyulhan mocks her, saying she can still think despite her tiny head, and notes that he saved her only because she's a special guest, which he then denies, warning her to be careful. Haji becomes flustered by Kyulhan's actions and tries not to be self-conscious. Earlier, Haji and the maids overheard guests talking about how preposterous it would be for Haji to marry Kyulhan. Despite the maids' upset, Haji tells them to pay no further attention, admitting to herself that it's true. In fact, this makes her feel relieved as she tries to convince herself that Kyulhan doesn't like her. Haji tells Kyulhan that she's been taking good care of herself. She then asks whether he plans to socialize, which he claims is tiresome. Noticing what Kyulhan is going through, Haji has to agree. She then remarks that there will be many ladies Kyulhan might like, which baffles him. Suddenly, they hear music, and Haji notes that the ball dance may begin soon. As Kyulhan attempts to invite her to dance, they're interrupted when a guest approaches Haji. The guest invites her to dance, alarming Kyulhan. He then confronts the guest, claiming that he has never heard of him before. Kyulhan uses this opportunity to take Haji to the dance floor instead, leaving her flushed. Haji is so flustered that she keeps repeating she's not misunderstanding, which confuses Kyulhan. Soon after, Kyulhan notices Haji is tense and struggling, so he tells her to follow his lead. She expresses her worry that others might misunderstand, while also reassuring him that she won't take it the wrong way. But Kyulhan tells her she's free to misunderstand. However, Haji's thoughts take a completely different turn. Kwi-han and the other guests notice the commotion, thinking they must be having a lover's quarrel. He then announces to some guests that the rumored termination of Kyul-han and Minju's engagement is true. After ignoring the other guests' chatter, he approaches Kyul-han to ask for a moment of his time. Later, on the balcony, Kwi-han asks what Kyul-han plans to do about his engagement. After confronting Kyul-han about his previous engagement not being serious, Kwi-han asks if he is serious about Haji. Kwi-han then asks his very confused brother if he's interested in knowing a way to mitigate the rumors about his engagement and the discrimination against Haji. Soon after, Kwi-han gets everyone's attention to make an announcement that Kyul-han and Haji are now officially engaged. Haji is petrified. She confronts Kwi-han, asking if she's dreaming or if he's joking, both of which Kwi-han denies. He reassures her that he couldn't possibly say something like that in front of so many nobles. Haji then notes that she never gave her consent, to which Kwi-han claims she would never be able to because of her emotions, implying that she likes Kyul-han. Kwi-han points out that every time Haji is with Kyul-han, she has the expression of someone in love. After leaving Kwi-han's office, Haji reflects on what he said. However, no matter what he said, she still tells herself that Kyul-han would never like her. Shortly after, Kyul-han appears beside her. Haji asks Kyul-han why he didn't stop his brother, to which he states that it's better for her sake to let things go this way. She then asks if that's his only reason, which he doesn't deny, even implying there could be no other reason. As he's about to say something embarrassing, he cuts himself off because he gets flustered. They then begin to quarrel in the hallway, witnessed by the maids. One maid notes that Kyul-han has become foolish and no longer scary, suspecting he's falling in love. The next morning, Haji wakes up to a ton of gifts from people congratulating her on her new engagement. Though she's happy, she can't help but feel uneasy knowing that some of the people who once discriminated against her are now giving her gifts. The maid notices the look on Haji's face and asks if something is wrong, but Haji quickly denies it. As Haji studies the maid, she realizes she hasn't seen her before, yet she seems strangely familiar. Suddenly, it dawns on her, and Haji asks if she is Jimin's mother. When the maid confirms, she asks Haji if they can talk outside. Jimin's mother apologizes for being so casual around Haji, explaining that she's used to how she used to address her. She adds that she would have left if Haji hadn't recognized her, but Haji noticed right away. Jimin's mother feels bad for not being able to see Haji last time because she was sick, but she's doing better now as long as she doesn't overwork herself. She then mentions that Jimin no longer sends her letters, which is why she came all the way here. Apparently, she was told that Jimin is away for a while, so she decided to work while waiting for her son. As she shares her experiences in the house, Haji feels guilty and wonders if she should tell her that Jimin is probably already dead. Before Haji can say anything, Jimin's mother interrupts, saying she wants to see her as well, making it even harder for Haji to reveal the truth. In the end, Haji doesn't say anything at all. Meanwhile, Kyul-han feels uneasy about the inactivity in the house of Hae. Ansu expresses surprise about the engagement, which makes Kyul-han flustered. He then asks where his brother is, and Ansu replies that Kwi-han is out for a walk. Kyul-han promptly leaves the room, realizing that today is the anniversary of their mother's death. Troubled, Haji decides to confront Kwi-han about Jimin's fate. As she's about to cry, Kwi-han reassures her, saying that Jimin is fine. He adds that if Jimin were truly in danger, he wouldn't be so calm. She disagrees, insisting that he's always calm regardless of what's going on inside him. Upon hearing this, Kwi-han is reminded of what his mother used to say. Apparently, Kwi-han's relatives find him creepy because they don't know what he's thinking, which makes him feel depressed. However, his mother would always notice right away. Kwi-han mentions that his mother unfortunately died after the murder of the late king. He then reassures Haji that Jimin is fine, but he can't share the details yet. Unbeknownst to them, Kyul-han witnesses their interaction from afar. Meanwhile, Jimin is busy with his infiltration work. Although he's become familiar with the House of Hae, there are just too many locked doors. He's also worried that Minju may have already noticed him. Fortunately, it seems she hasn't recognized him. At the royal library, Haji wanders as she admires the vast collection. She can't seem to find what she's searching for and thinks it would be best to ask someone. Shortly after, she sees Sir Hee-wong, who is carrying a tower of books while on a ladder. As he's about to fall, Haji tries to catch him but ends up being pinned by him instead. Moments later, Haji apologizes profusely. Hee-wong does the same, claiming that he wasn't paying much attention. He then apologizes for being too casual with her, which she quickly dismisses. Hee-wong notes that she hasn't changed, then asks what she's looking for. Apparently, she's trying to learn about the murder of the late king. Hee-wong then shares the story of the royal ball, when the king suddenly collapsed. After further investigation, it was revealed that he had been poisoned. One of the maids testified that it was the queen who handed the drink to him. As a result, the queen was imprisoned, and his cousin, the royal apothecary, rumored to have conspired with her, was sentenced to death. Haji asks what the apothecary did, and Hee-wong explains that there is no one else capable of using such poison aside from the queen's cousin. To this day, the genius apothecary, who was apparently Hee-wong's teacher, is still on the run. Haji realizes that today is the death anniversary of Kwi-han's mother. She then asks if the rumors are really true, but Hee-wong states that nothing is certain because the maid who testified ran away, revealing that the maid's identity is just a fabrication. However, Hee-wong received information that the same maid borrowed a book from the library prior to the king's murder. As they continued discussing how to find the culprit, someone eavesdrops on them. The next day, the royal library catches fire. This is a troublesome situation because they need to find the culprit, or else Kwi-han's capability will be doubted. Hee-wong suspects that someone must have eavesdropped on them. Ansu then informs Hee-wong that there's a suspicious testimony from the maid who was supposed to clean yesterday. She said that the newly hired maid offered to clean the library late at night. Meanwhile, Jimin's mother wonders why Haji is inside, to which Haji claims that she's not allowed to go outside because of the recent incident. Jimin's mother then tells Haji that their race, the rats, is the most prejudiced against. Haji didn't know about this. Jimin's mother then states that she did everything in her power just to protect Jimin, but unfortunately, she never received a fitting reward. This makes Haji ponder over it later that night. Suddenly, Kyul-han appears out of nowhere, scaring Haji. After she asks what he wants, Kyul-han hands her a necklace. When Haji hesitates, he decides to put it on her himself. Flustered, she asks if Kyul-han is sure. He answers that because of the notable necklace, her identity won't be questioned. Kyul-han then tells her that it's only troublesome if a man Haji likes sees it. Haji tries to deny this, but before she can finish her sentence, Kyul-han hands her an imitation necklace for her to wear comfortably outside. He gives this to her because Haji seemed interested in it when she visited his room. She wonders if Kyul-han is being considerate, but Haji is again bothered by what he said. Misunderstanding, she thinks Kyul-han likes someone else. Meanwhile, at the house of Hae, the maids talk about Minju's participation in the Noble Council, making it a great opportunity for Jimin to investigate. He then tells the other maids that he'll take over the work today. Though they appear appreciative, they express an eerie grin. Jimin goes to the place where Minju usually wanders every night. As he takes a step, he notices a trapdoor, which he suspects is a secret door. Suddenly, Minju and the maids appear behind him. On the day of the Noble Council, Kwi-han tells Haji that the House of Hae is included, which prompts her to ask if Minju is included. Kwi-han tells her that Minju won't be because of the rumors surrounding the recent incident. However, Kyul-han disagrees, stating that Minju is too shameless. Kwi-han thinks that Minju will act as if nothing happened and will use the power of her family since no one will be able to question her. Haji is annoyed hearing this, knowing that Jimin was injured and she almost died too. However, she still wants to know Minju's reasons. Later, Haji asks Jimin's mother if she needs a doctor because she's coughing too much, but she refuses. Shortly after, Minju appears, congratulating Haji on her engagement. Meanwhile, Jimin is desperately trying to escape from the maids. After he is caught, Minju reveals that she knew all along who he was. She commends him for being so brave to infiltrate her home despite being the key witness. After that, Jimin is thrown down the trapdoor. Jimin barely escapes and overhears the maids talking about Haji being targeted. Meanwhile, Minju's servants inform her that the meeting is about to start, prompting her to leave Haji with a weary Jimin's mother. Annoyed by Minju's impassiveness, Haji confronts her about the tea party incident, but Minju feigns ignorance. When Haji tries to explain, Minju continues to pretend she doesn't know what she's talking about, even fabricating a story. Haji finally realizes that Minju is trying to act as if nothing happened. Minju takes her leave, and just as Haji is about to call out to her again, she is interrupted by Jimin's mother's worsening cough. Haji calls a doctor while Jimin's mother hides something behind her. Later, Kwi-han discusses the final agenda, but Haji is spacing out. Kyul-han teases her for being an airhead and tells her she should get used to this kind of stuff since she's now his fiancée, though he is embarrassed to say it. Kwi-han states that there will be an increase in the cap pertaining to private soldiers, which confuses Haji. Kyul-han mocks her again, explaining that an increase in cap poses a threat and should be a cause for concern. Kwi-han adjourns the meeting, but the head of the House of Hae tells him there are still matters to discuss, especially for those who were unable to attend. Despite Kwi-han's dismissal, the head of the House of Hae persists in discussing matters, suspecting that Kwi-han cannot succeed as king because their mother was behind the king's murder. The council erupts in laughter, and as Kwi-han is about to lose his temper, a sudden disagreement echoes through the venue. it is Haji, who claims that a single maid's testimony is insufficient as proof. Kyulhan silences Haji, warning that her words would only worsen the situation. After she quiets down, Kwihan concludes the meeting. Kyulhan reprimands Haji for her actions, but she stands firm, knowing she did the right thing, especially since everyone else was cowardly, Kyulhan included. Given that they are brothers, he is supposed to defend Kwihan. Kyulhan replies that if avoiding worsening the situation makes him a coward, then he gladly accepts that label. Haji states she has no regrets, but will reflect on her actions before promptly leaving. Shortly after, Kwihan emerges, sharing Kyulhan's sentiment about being satisfied with what Haji said to the House of Hae. Later, rumors quickly spread about Haji's outburst. The old man of Hae expresses disappointment toward Minju, stating that she can't even get rid of Haji. Meanwhile, Jimin is imprisoned and struggling to catch his breath. He asks the maids what they plan to do with him, and they say it's up to Minju. They tell him that if he's lucky, he'll die immediately. Otherwise, he will become a lab rat and die a painful death. Jimin suspects that the House of Hae's experiments are connected to the murder of the late king, but he remains imprisoned and cannot act. He notices a small gap in the wall that seems quite possible to go through. Meanwhile, Jimin's mother receives a letter from someone who addresses her as Nanny. Soon after, the other maids arrive to check on her. As they praise Haji for standing firm against the House of Hae, Jimin's mother is not amused. She believes Haji killed her son. She recalls when Minju told her that Haji pushed Jimin into the river. Jimin's mother has served the House of Hae for some time, even caring for Minju as her nursemaid. Later, Minju then sought for her help, though this was only a pretense for her true intentions. Now, Jimin's mother is determined to exact revenge before her illness worsens. Elsewhere, Haji is busy baking cookies for Hee-wong, who has been saddened by the recent fire. When Haji arrives at Hee-wong's office, she hears a familiar voice. It's the little bunny girl. The girl explains that Hee-wong is out and claims that Hee-wong does not like cookies, suggesting they have tea instead. Shortly after, Hee-wong bursts in, carrying Jimin's weary mother. Earlier, while Hee-wong was walking in the gardens, Jimin's mother began coughing violently and suddenly collapsed. Now, they must provide immediate treatment before taking her to the medical center. Fortunately, they are able to treat Jimin's mother in time thanks to the medicine she had in her pocket. However, Hee-wong discovers a pouch of poisonous herbs in her pocket too, so he decides to investigate this further. At the same time, Haji feels guilty for not noticing her condition earlier. Hee-wong then tells her that he needs to go to the medical institute, but the bunny girl insists he doesn't need to go because she already knows what illness Jimin's mother has. Meanwhile, at the House of Hae, Jimin manages to squeeze into the secret room. The very room the maids had mentioned as the site of experimentation. He finds some suspicious documents and upon closer inspection is shocked by what he sees. Soon after, he hears the maids approaching and quickly returns to his cell. Back with Hee-wong, he learns from the bunny girl that the illness isn't what it seems. Instead, it's more like poison than illness. It's tricky too, since it cannot be cured with medicine from this world. Hee-wong argues that it would be rare for someone to be poisoned just by handling poisonous herbs. However, it is possible if the Havi plant is involved, the same plant used in the murder of the late king. This revelation greatly surprises Hee-wong, as the trade of the Havi plant is strictly prohibited, and it is extremely rare to encounter it in one's lifetime. Hee-wong then suggests that the maid might be connected to the king's murder. Haji finds this hard to believe, but Hee-wong's reasoning is sound. The bunny girl then tells Haji to use the medicine she received in the cave. Haji becomes flustered, recalling her time with Kyulhan, but quickly realizes the importance of the potion. Hee-wong wonders how the bunny girl knows about the potion, especially since it was their teacher who was present at the time. The bunny girl begins to sweat nervously, on the verge of being found out. Hee-wong excitedly asks the bunny girl about their teacher's whereabouts, displaying an unprecedented enthusiasm that surprises Haji. Haji then ponders the idea that if the poison cannot be cured by this world's methods, perhaps a medicine from another world might be effective. Later, Haji approaches Kyulhan to ask for a favor as his fiancé. She tells the suspicious Kyulhan that she needs the medicine Jimin stole from the castle, but Kyulhan refuses, claiming it has already been returned. He explains that if the medicine had remained in this world for long, it would have disappeared. Upon hearing this, Haji freezes, her surprised expression confusing Kyulhan. Haji realizes that she too will eventually disappear from this world and that everyone she knows will forget her. She used to think she wanted to disappear, but after entering this world and meeting so many wonderful people, especially Kyulhan, she realizes she wants to stay. However, as sad as it is, she knows she must return because she does not belong to this world. As Haji continues to express her feelings, Kyulhan interrupts, telling her that he will at least help her return to her world, but warns her not to misunderstand. He will not try to stop her. As Haji turns away, she feels saddened by the fact that Kyulhan did not even try to make her stay. Meanwhile, Kyulhan is frustrated with himself for saying such ridiculous things. Jimin's mother opens her eyes, and the first person she sees is the bunny girl. Worriedly, she tells her that she must have fainted again because of her chronic illness. The bunny girl responds knowingly, saying she has already seen her faint multiple times. Confused, Jimin's mother asks if they know each other. The bunny girl then states that Jimin's mother was at the banquet, the same maid who testified that the queen gave the poisonous drink to the king. Jimin's mother shrieks, yelling that she's talking nonsense. Suddenly, Haji arrives and asks how she's doing, but Jimin's mother is not amused, convinced that Haji is just pretending to be concerned. She is also worried that the bunny girl might actually know her real identity. The bunny girl tells her that it was Haji who gave her a very rare medicine to treat her. Puzzled, Jimin's mother asks why Haji would go that far, startling her. The bunny girl explains that Jimin's mother is very precious to Haji and tells her not to overdo things anymore. Haji then swiftly leaves the room to prepare food for her. Now, Jimin's mother begins to doubt whether what Minju said is true, as her experience with Haji is completely different from Minju's description. Shortly after, she overhears the maids talking about Jimin and how his disappearance might be connected to Minju. Desperate to know more about the rumors, she asks the maids herself. Meanwhile, Kyulhan informs Kwihan that Haji will be leaving, stating that she was none the wiser all along. To their surprise, both had thought Haji wanted to stay, but apparently that's not the case. Kwihan then tells Kyulhan that his engagement with Haji was real, and that he is the one that pretending it wasn't. Though Kyulhan keeps denying this, Kwihan finally points out that Kyulhan really does like Haji and is just suppressing his feelings. Kwihan encourages his brother, Kyulhan, to confess his feelings now or regret it later. But Kyulhan insists that Haji actually hates him. Amused, Kwihan remarks that the two must have a lot of misunderstanding between them. Alone in the gardens, Haji wonders if she's finally going back to her world. On one hand, returning means she can see her parents again, but on the other, she will have to deal with school once more. More importantly, going back also means she won't see Kyulhan anymore. Suddenly, Jimin's mother arrives. Earlier, the maids told her about the rumors surrounding the tea party, revealing that Minju caused all the chaos and was responsible for pushing both Haji and Jimin into the river. Baffled, Jimin's mother no longer knows what to believe, but one thing is clear to her: how vile the House of Hae truly is. Gathering her courage, she finally asks what really happened on the day Jimin disappeared. Meanwhile, Minju slaps a maid out of frustration, burdened by the weight she carries. She vents to Jimin about her troubled relationship with her father, who only sees her as a tool. Jimin, however, tells her that her hardships do not justify her vile behavior. Minju then shocks him by saying she wishes her father were dead. Confused, Jimin asks why she would share all that with him, but Minju merely exhales. A person as good as dead like Jimin can at least bear to listen to her ramblings. In the garden, Haji feels conflicted and unsure of what to tell Jimin's mother. As she gathers her thoughts and prepares to speak, a maid interrupts them, announcing that Kyulhan is looking for Haji. Haji rushes to meet him, only to learn that it was actually Kwihan who called for her. Kwihan then reveals that he knows Jimin's whereabouts. Kwihan warns Haji that she might resent him after hearing what he is about to say. He reveals that Jimin is at the House of Hae, as he originally sent him there as a spy since the house believed he was dead. Unfortunately, Minju has seen through Jimin's disguise. Although Jimin promised to send a timely message, Kwihan is yet to receive any communication from him. Kwihan also mentions that he received a message from Minju who wants to reconcile with Haji. He suspects that if Jimin is truly at Minju's mercy, then Minju might try to negotiate. Haji quickly storms off to inform Jimin's mother about Jimin's predicament. But Kyulhan follows to stop her, noting that Kwihan only shared this information with them because it is confidential. Haji insists that Jimin's mother has every right to know since she is his mother, and that Haji herself is responsible for Jimin's disappearance, so she must tell her. Haji begins to blame herself, thinking that if she'd just listened to Jimin, none of this would have happened. Kyulhan comforts her by embracing her, and Haji tears up and returns the embrace. Elsewhere at the House of Hae, the maids ask Minju why she hasn't killed Jimin yet. She replies that he is still useful because he is valuable to Haji. Later that day, Jimin's mother arrives in response to Haji's summons. Without delay, Haji informs him of Jimin's whereabouts and current condition. Hearing all that, Jimin's mother leaves the room silently. The next morning, Minju arrives at the castle, thinking that if Haji were out of the picture, she could continue admiring the palace she has loved since childhood. At their meeting, Minju immediately hands something to Haji, though Haji hesitates. Outside, Anzu worries about leaving Haji alone with Minju, but Kyulhan says it cannot be helped, otherwise Minju won't reveal herself. Shortly after, Jimin's mother appears before them. Kyulhan asks Jimin's mother if Haji has already told her the truth, which she affirms. He then inquires whether she resents Haji. Meanwhile, Haji is troubled by the cookies Minju is offering. After Haji refuses the cookies, Minju reveals she has been raising a pet rat with pink fur. She threatens that if Haji won't take the cookies, the pink-furred rat might have to eat them instead. Alarmed, Haji contemplates what to do. Determined to save Jimin, Haji negotiates with Minju, asking her to spare the rat if she eats the cookies, to which Minju agrees. Just as Haji is about to eat the cookies, Jimin's mother stops her. Perplexed, Minju wonders what her nanny is doing, since it was her job to eliminate Haji. Jimin's mother tells Minju to eat the cookies herself, but Minju finds this preposterous. Jimin's mother then offers to eat the cookies, claiming she is resistant to the Havi poison. She insists that she has no ill intent toward Haji. Minju should eat at least one cookie. She insists that if she has no ill intent toward Haji, Minju should eat at least one cookie. Minju warns that it would be problematic for the nanny if the cookies contain nothing harmful, but Jimin's mother declares she doesn't care because she will expose the truth regardless. She expresses her resentment toward Minju, whom she has served for so long, and now insists Minju must eat the cookies. Frustrated, Minju wonders how Haji continually wins people's trust. After a moment, Minju decides to eat the cookies. At that moment, Kyulhan bursts in as Haji tells Minju not to eat them. As the ruckus arises, Kyulhan instructs Ansu to call the guards to arrest Minju and have her charged with attempted murder. Minju begins to sob, lamenting why she always gets the short end of the stick. Defeated, she kneels down crying. Upon investigation, the cookies are revealed to contain a lethal dose of poison. Minju is temporarily detained, and Jimin's mother finally exposes the truth behind the murder of the late king, though not all details are revealed. Shortly after, the House of Hae cuts ties with Minju, refusing to be associated with the incident, a reaction that does not surprise Minju. Haji reflects on what she could have done to prevent the situation from escalating so badly. She wishes she had hugged Minju tightly, like how Kyulhan hugged her. Despite everything, Haji still considers Minju her friend. Later, Kyulhan finds Haji and berates her for wandering carelessly despite nearly being poisoned. He then retracts his scolding, saying it doesn't matter since she will return to her world soon. Haji had completely forgotten this. Kyulhan expresses disappointment that Haji won't be able to witness Minju's trial, which is set on the same day as Haji's return to her world. When Haji asks about Minju's fate, Kyulhan says execution is certain. Though Haji believes Minju deserves punishment, she still feels saddened. Kyulhan warns her that she might regret being too kind in the future. The next day, Minju refuses to tell the truth. Meanwhile, Haji prepares to return to her world. Kwihan notes that the portal is still unstable and reminds her of his first impression of her, which greatly flusters her. Kwihan thanks her for being the reason Kyulhan changed for the better, though deep down, Haji feels the same and silently admits it was because of Kyulhan that she wanted to keep living. However, it's not only Kyulhan who changed. Kwihan has changed as well, though he can't bring himself to tell her. Kwihan tells Haji that Kyulhan will arrive soon because he still has to witness Minju's trial. Meanwhile, a commotion erupts in the court as Minju refuses to speak, seemingly waiting for her father to save her. However, her father completely denies her and her actions, abandoning her. Frustrated, Minju rants that she followed every order her father gave her, yet he refuses to help or claim her. She then exposes the truth, accusing the House of Hae of killing the late king and framing the late queen, but her father laughs it off, calling her mad. Suddenly, Jimin arrives with Hee-wong and his teacher, exposing everything the House of Hae did to him and what he found in the basement, leaving Minju and her father stunned. Jimin presents research on the Havi plant done by the House of Hae, but Minju's father dismisses it, claiming anyone could have done that. Yet the former head of the apothecary refutes his claim. Unexpectedly, Jimin's mother announces she wants to testify against the House of Hae. She admits she poisoned the late king and framed the late queen under the House of Hae's orders. She calls Minju's father a pathetic and lonely man, which Minju agrees with wholeheartedly. Minju's father is then arrested as the testimonies cannot be ignored. Frustrated, he attempts to flee as he stabs someone. After Minju's father bursts out the door to flee, someone shouts that he's heading to the ritual grounds. Kyulhan realizes that Minju's father knows about the ritual and is attempting to escape there. Promptly, Kyulhan orders all the guards to head to the ritual grounds, worried that Haji might be in danger. The trial is set to continue on a later date, but Jimin's mother wonders if her master truly thinks he can get away. Minju realizes her father might take advantage of Haji's return to her world to escape. Angered, Minju is determined not to let her father do as he pleases. Meanwhile, as Haji takes her first steps toward the portal, she begins to question whether she really wants to go through. Kwihan tells her that if she doesn't enter the portal now, it will close. Haji mutters Kyulhan's name, and Kwihan asks if she has said her farewells. He adds that even if the trial ended sooner or didn't happen, Kyulhan probably wouldn't show up because he would try to stop her from leaving. Haji admits she wants to see Kyulhan, and like clockwork, Kyulhan and the guards arrive, warning her to be careful. Suddenly, Haji becomes a hostage of Minju's father. As Minju's father begins to threaten everyone, Kyulhan grows increasingly agitated. Kwihan tells him to calm down and asks Minju's father what he wants. The man demands everyone ignore the evidence and leave him alone. When this is refused, he threatens to take Haji as a hostage and escape to the other world. Haji blames herself once again. Shortly after, Minju arrives, telling her father to release Haji and stop the nonsense. Her father mocks her, but Minju has clearly had enough. Meanwhile, Kyulhan raises his hand, signaling the soldiers to act. An arrow is shot at the head of the House of Ha'e, creating the perfect opportunity to charge at him. He retreats through the portal, taking Haji with him. He warns Haji not to move too much, as it could cause a rift and make her lost in the void. One last time, he mocks Kyulhan's actions because of her. As the maids desperately tried to stop a furious Kyulhan from entering the portal, Kwihan tells him to wait for another ritual. Furious, Kyulhan argues that it's unfair for him to be safe while Haji is in danger. Determined, he takes a step closer to the portal. Never before had Kyulhan thought he would be willing to save someone, but because of Haji, everything changed. Before Kyulhan can enter the portal, Minju steps in and jumps through it herself. Meanwhile, Minju's father reminds Haji to stay still. Haji contemplates what to do, knowing she can't let him return to the cat's world. He then tries to make her feel worthless, claiming she's just as useless as Minju. Annoyed, Haji squirms, hitting the wound she just received. The two become separated, and Haji is overjoyed that the cat's world will be at peace. In the void, Minju suddenly wakes Haji, attempting to save her. Minju pushes Haji toward the exit while she, Minju, goes deeper into the void. She reflects that she never wanted to be the villain. The truth is, Haji was her very first friend. However, life was too unfair to her. Haji had everything Minju ever wanted, so Minju will never apologize to her, although she knows Haji will forgive her regardless. After Minju continues to fall deeper into the void, Haji returns with a tie around her waist, rescuing her. Once both are saved, Minju complains about her past actions, but Haji reassures her that she still wants to be friends, resolving their issues. Following her confession of everything, Minju is imprisoned for a short time. Hee-Wong's teacher is reinstated as the head of the apothecary, though Hee-Wong remains baffled that his teacher and the bunny girl are the same person. Meanwhile, Haji awaits another ritual scheduled for the next day. She is caught by Kyulhan, who is upset because she's snooping around to escape. Haji notes there are no longer dangers, but Kyulhan offers to accompany her anyway. He expresses his thoughts about Haji saving Minju, admitting he wouldn't have done the same. Haji admits she was naive and dumb, but Kyulhan disagrees, saying he likes her personality and wants her to stay. Haji then confesses she also likes him. Both become flustered as they exchange reasons for their feelings. Kyulhan cuts the moment short, reminding her she has to leave, which Haji agrees to since she is not from this world. The next morning, Haji enters the portal. Kwihan tries to convince Kyulhan to chase after her, but Kyulhan is firm, respecting Haji's wishes. Suddenly, Hee-Wong's teacher reveals that Haji might be a special case who can return anytime she wants, surprising them both. Eventually, Haji returns to her world. She's no longer bullied, having grown from her experiences in the cat's world, though her parents have become stricter. Above all, she now carries a secret she absolutely cannot share with anyone. Whether it's a silent but strong love like Kyulhan's, or a love-hate friendship like Minju's, Cat's Bride just shows us how meaningful relationships can transcend worlds. I hope you guys enjoyed this story as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. As usual, thank you for your support, everyone, and see you on my next video!